Board of Directors regular meeting to order. Today is February 27, 2018. Time is 12 p.m. Roll call, we have Mr. Posadas, Dr. Salceda, Mr. Mike Farias, myself, Gilbert Enriquez. We also have our Executive Director, Mr. Joey Trevino, and our attorney, Mr. Aaron Vela. Do we have certification of public notice, Mr. Trevino?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before we begin on item 3, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Trevino. We selected him as our new executive director, so thank you for accepting the position. Appreciate that, and I look forward, as well as the board looks forward to working with you on all the great things that are going to be happening here in the city of Edinburg. So I appreciate you taking the job.
I appreciate that too, Mr. President and board, and the confidence you have with me, and thank you to the citizens of Edinburg. We're going to do good things here.
Thank you. I also want to introduce our new Director of Business Operations and Marketing, Miss Myra over here. Myra, thank you for accepting the position. Look forward to working with you. Again, there's a lot of good things that are going to be happening in the city of Edinburg in the next couple of years. All right. Item number 3, consider approval of Board of Directors minutes for January 23rd, 2018, January 31st, 2018, and February 16, 2018 board meetings. If everyone has reviewed the minutes, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion by Dr. Salceda.
Second.
Second by Mr. Farias. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item approved. Item 4, presentation by Mr. Ron Garza, Executive Director for the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council regarding the Edinburg Transit Facility Project. Mr. Garza, welcome. Thank you for being here. Mr. Logan, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
So what we wanted to do master plan that the city had done, as well as the commuter rail feasibility study and really just urban planning that had been done within the city departments, really lended itself to wanting to create a transit solution. Obviously, this is kind of the epicenter of the city here with also the university and things like that. So I think the conversation turned into how we can better administer Valley Metro services. So we looked at partnering with the grant opportunity, and the third line down there that you see on 11 of 2013 highlights what the initial project costs were going to be. This was just from the initial estimates. So the initial project cost was $3.3 million, with 2.7 of that being from an FTA grant. And at that point, the land was acceptable as the match, the 20%. So $675,000 that the land that this facility was going to be on was considered the 20% match. So we moved forward with that, and we moved forward with the agreement, the formal agreement between the EDC, the City of Edinburg, and LRGVDC. And I think the next notable one is probably 12 of 2014. And really looking at in terms of who was going to provide contract management of the project. And it was determined at that point that the city would be managing this construction project and the process, and we moved forward with that. You'll see a bolded statement there on 3 of 2015, because after conducting the preliminary engineering design, it came back that the estimates needed to be increased to the design that was spec'd out at that point. So staff got back together and revisited a potential grant amendment. So we had to look at what would qualify as amendments for that. And on 6/2016, you'll see the revised amounts to the grant. So that include what was revised as part of that amendment number 1. So it brought up the total project cost to 4.7. It increased the FTA available grant to 4.3. Obviously, the land still qualified, but this required a cash match of $413,000. And that first amendment was really to address the increase based on the estimate after design. So after design, move forward. The construction was awarded to broke ground, and then there was some optional work discussed. So you'll see at 3/2017. That's what really started the discussion on the additional funding for the optional work, which included the front office space and the interior finishes. And by my perspective, it had been something that had always been looked at from the beginning. It was just not holistically designed that way. I think it was meant to be added on, or an option to be added on.
So, Mr. Garza, with that said, was there ever a figure or a budget that was appropriated for that additional work for that front office space and the interior finishes?
So what happens, so once an entity that partners with us decides that they want to move forward with something like that, which is an amendment, it's an additional items, so then we would do estimates on how much that project would cost. And then we have to file for another amendment to the grant, because again, 80% of all these funds come from the grant. And when you see there, 12/2017, the last set of numbers that are bolded would be what the new project costs. So there is an amendment currently filed that has not been formally approved. It's pending approval. And those are the numbers that would include the second amendment to the original grant. So moving it to 6.4 million, FTA grant of 5.1, obviously still your land at 675, 413 of cash, which is amendment 1, and then 190 of cash for amendment 2. I do want to point out, we just found out because we were missing a line item, that 190 cash is actually 200,000 even in cash. So that's a misprint there, that 190. So back to that question, those would be the amendments. So in other words, if the entity wanted to move forward with those optional work programs, it would be another $200,000 in cash to bring the 80% more of federal grants that would require to cover that. So that right there is the amended amount. We did see
To basically increase it from the FT grant of 4.3 to 5.1.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what was the total cost of this project? Do you have that total cost of the project?
So what I did with those numbers is I kept bringing down the total. So what you see there at that last bar of 12/2017 would be with that second amendment, which is all the amendments we have knowledge of right now, that would be the entire cost. With the exception of that 190, there was that misprint. It should be 200,000. Right. But total project cost with grant and all the matching would be at 6.4.
Okay.
So that's 6.431,194.
Okay.
So the only other activity besides that is
That 6.4 million includes all the soft costs, which is your architectural fees, your testing, your whatever grant administration fees that you would need to incur as well.
Yeah, everything associated with the grant. The only thing that wouldn't be included was anything that was done prior to the land being accepted as a match. So environmentals to the land, because the land itself was qualified at the $675,000. Anything that the city did prior to that qualifying match, again, like environmental,
right,
and any demo you won't see that.
You won't see that in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But anything from project initiation forward, yes, that's a total amount, all inclusive.
Okay.
The only other bit of activity with that is this discovery of a tank that was underground, and we've seen the estimates there of an estimate at $27,180. From our perspective, that would be absorbed with that grant amendment. However, if that grant amendment wasn't approved, then that would be taken from interior and exterior seating allocation, basically benches. They would
Furnishings.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, are they actual furnishings or actual hard benches that are?
Just benches.
Okay. The exterior, just kind of like the ones out here, the metal benches.
Oh, okay.
So.
Is that part of the construction cost, or is that separate funding that's under furnishings, or
It's part of the construction.
It's
it's
part of
part
the-
of the construction?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, they would just substitute some of that seating capacity for the tank removal. However, if the grant was approved, then that would also cover it, so the seating would be included as well. So that, again, it gives you, I covered a snapshot, but I kind of put all the details in there, and again, I did it from almost my perspective for my own knowledge as well. The only other thing that we know is pending, and we have details, but I don't know what we're going to cover today, is just the lease agreement, because I know there's been some changes there. The original lease agreement had the EDC obviously being housed there. That is, I believe, no longer the case. So, any lease agreement, we just have to
Amend
update, amend it, and modify. It was never approved by, I don't believe, the EDC or the City Commission.
No, it was
Yeah.
presented and it was under review.
It's under
Okay.
review. So, we can easily just amend that to reflect any changes that are
Good.
current today.
Good, that's great. Now, my next question to you is that there's been discussions or rumors or innuendos about $1 million floating around somewhere, that the COG has, that we're able to receive, so we can use it for additional stuff. Do you have any comments on that?
No. So what I'll say is any financial transactions, or even that last one that is in the process of being approved, that is everything that's allocated to this project. Having said that, though, so like any one of our partners with transit, if, say, there was a additional, parking garage or some other type of thing that the city and the EDC wanted to add to that, then what we could do is then potentially look at other grants that could qualify for that. And same process, we would create an amendment, create whatever the project scope for that, and then determine, if it qualifies for the grant, then the city would just pay the 20% match. But nothing's been discussed or allocated or formalized or even rumored to my knowledge.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there's been the original grant and 2 amendments, and that last amendment has not been formally approved, but it is pending approval as part of that transportation improvement plan.
Okay, great. So with that said, that we can ask for additional funding if it's appropriate. One of the things that I know we had this discussion a while back, Mr. Garza, about having like a trolley system here for just our square, our downtown area, the square where the courthouse sits. And the logic behind that is to help the businesses, especially the restaurants around the courthouse, survive, because there's a lot of people that work in the courthouse that don't want to, go to the parking lot, get their cars, then try to find parking in where the restaurant is located, which they probably won't find parking.
Yeah.
And they can't do all that within an hour. So one of the things that I think would be beneficial would have some type of trolley system just for the downtown area, since we have the bus terminal here that can have easy access in and out. So is that something that your entity could help us with?
Sure. So that technically wouldn't be part of this project scope. We would look at that as any other transit services administration, which is a great idea. And, we would kind of I call it kind of a city looper type thing. It's a dedicated service, per your specs. And again, for businesses, things like that. It's a great forward-thinking idea, and I think that's a great idea. We would just look at, same thing, grant opportunities, which grant would qualify for that, and then determine the 20% match for any capital, and then potential operations, obviously. And
Right.
that is, operations is a 50-50 match.
Correct.
So, and then those discussions would evolve into how many times do you want to run it? Do you want to run it, weekends only, every day till 9? So we kind of formulate how much it would cost to operate it, allocate 50% of that, and then find the grant to match that.
So basically, if we were to do something like that, the city of Edinburgh the most that we would pay would be 50%
For operation.
for operations.
Yeah.
And the 20
Yeah,
Right.
but a
And 20% for the actual bus
Yes,
itself.
yeah. And a trolley facade is nothing but a bus. So that's just a way to communicate visually that it's an inner city
Right.
loop kind of road, that's why usually they look different.
Right.
So you're not worried about jumping on that one and ending up 10 miles across town or something. Yeah, so trolleys kind of tell you, I'm staying within a proximity, but I think that would, with the terminal and everything else in terms of the walkability, I think that would be a very popular route.
That's
So-
similar to the Wave on South Padre Island?
Yeah,
the
something like
program.
that, yeah. See, the Wave is a city route, but there's not much of a city, so there is kind of an inner city
And
loop.
that's the same kind of partnership, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I really think if we had something like that a lot of these restaurants that open up for 6 months and close down because there's just not enough traffic, I think would help them tremendously.
So the process, and that's why I kind of laid it out, would be very much the same thing. It starts with, getting the scope of what you vision, then turning that into a proposal that goes in this transportation improvement plan. Once that gets approved, then we actually figure out the administration, that kind of thing. That takes some time to do. If we really wanted, a sense of urgency, there's other things we can do, and it might not actually be a trolley, but we can use an existing route and basically modify an existing route. Same thing, calculate how much operations that would entail, and then customize an existing route. So that could be a short-term solution to actually getting, the dedicated trolley system and that kind of thing.
So is there like a deadline, or not a deadline, but certain application dates that you have to meet in order for us to apply for something like this, or is it year-round, whenever?
The discussions should happen always. They should be perpetual. But the actual time that they review the transportation improvement plan,
It's going to be in May.
it's,
Oh, it's in May.
We're
Yeah.
coming up really
Okay.
fast.
So we would really have to hit this one.
Just a letter of intent with
Okay.
financial commitment. That will start the process.
Okay,
That will formalize it, yes.
even before the letter, if you need to kind of just really brainstorm so we can kind of give you some parameters around financial, again, how often do you want it to run? What would be your parameters of street locations, that kind of thing? And we can come close to something. The entity would then do a financial commitment letter. We'd put it in the transportation improvement and then start the approval process.
okay.
But yeah, the time would be now. But yeah, these are, the excellent partnerships that come from this.
Right.
So they start with somebody's vision to finding a solution for their city.
Right.
So
Okay, appreciate that. Now, I have one other question. So that the $6.4 million, if out of that $6.4 million, that transit building, let's just say cost reductions, or we don't do interior finish outs or any of that, and let's say the total contract or construction cost is $1 million less than what we have. Does that $1 million, can we reappropriate it for something else, or is that something that will go back to the government or the grant?
we would proportionalize it, the savings, so it would be less cash and less grant. We wouldn't really appropriate those savings to another.
Okay.
It technically would still go to the statewide allocation, which by formula funding, we have a set allocation. We would just, start the process again.
Okay.
But we can't easily just say,
You can't just move it over
Yeah.
to something else, okay?
unless it was directly tied to this project.
Well, the reason I was asking was because I was saying maybe use those funds for the trolley, if
We'd have to
possible.
explore it, but, we could look at it. Yeah,
Okay.
if, there may be a way to tie that specific trolley, that capital, to that building.
Right,
So we can definitely look at it to see if we can connect those easily.
okay,
Regardless of the way, I think it's a feasible project. So it just becomes to the administration of how we do it.
okay.
So,
Okay, yeah, I think if we can definitely look into it and just review it and see if it's a possibility, because I think that's something that would benefit the downtown area, especially all the businesses around the courthouse.
yeah, it sounds like it. I agree.
Okay, any questions?
I have a comment or a question or for public consumption. All costs related to that transit facility have been at an 80/20, no matter what. It went up, obviously, in price, but for public consumption, for every 8 cents, 20 cents were matched by the city or the EDC. So it is a great program. I mean, the fact that even if you increase costs by $1 million, I mean, they're still footing 80% of the bill and 20% on the EDC. So I think it's a great program.
Right.
You know, it really does speak to the value, what the value of transportation, transit services are doing in the valley. You know, years ago, we were deobligating money that we were having to turn back to the federal government because we couldn't obtain the local match. So now, the fact that it's getting more competitive locally for that's a good thing, because we're starting to demand more as our population grows. So yeah, but 80/20 is a great investment.
And the fact that we're even able to utilize land to offset the hard costs, I mean, that reduces our cash need participation even more. So
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree, definitely. That's why we need more of these partnerships with other government entities so we can pull our resources together. So that's
We're happy
a
to do
good
so.
thing. We appreciate the work that you guys do for us.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Make one comment.
Yes.
Working with Ron Garza in my previous job in the EDC, we were able to get funding with the EDA and develop the project in Westaco. So Ron's done a good job at the Development Council, and I look forward to working with him again. And,
Oh, good.
and Ms. Tom also.
Good. All right. Let's move on to the next agenda item, number 5, presentation update by Mr. Todd Gilliland, Project Director for the Burns Brothers LTD, regarding the La Ciena Sales Tax Reimbursement Agreement.
Good afternoon.
Good
President,
afternoon.
Commissioner, Board. My name's Todd Gilliland, and I'm the Project Director for La Ciena.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity to come up and discuss our project with you.
Yes.
We brought you some exhibits, and there's something on your desks about the Resaca market in general. And while some of you are probably more familiar than others with the project, I'll just give you a brief overview. La Ciena is 726 acres. It was a farm for many years. And because of urban sprawl and dusting, crop dusting problems and dirt, it became a developed area. We had to develop it and build homes instead of farming. When it was a farm, it generated about $40,000 in real estate taxes for Edinburgh and the county and the school district because of ag exemptions and whatnot. About 2005, the Burns brothers began developing the property, borrowed $16.5 million from the bank, and put in the utilities for basically the south half of the project. And what that included was extensive drainage and detention along the eastern boundary. It's about 150 feet wide, 30-foot deep ditch, benched. And before that drainage feature was constructed, Monte Cristo and 281 at the time flooded very often. So by creating that drainage structure and deeding it over to the county and city, it alleviated the traffic conditions there for TxDOT and Edinburgh. Beyond that, the first trunk lines went in, water, sanitary, drainage, and a new subdivision, which is now on its fifth sold-out phase, was Valencia. Those homes were $175,000 to about $250,000. At the beginning, Burns Brothers donated 50 acres of land there on behind the Flying J to the Catholic Diocese for the construction of a high school, and you'll probably remember that. And after a few years of design and preliminary concept, the diocese decided to go to mission. So the land came back to Burns Brothers. In the meantime, we have Adelia's Tamales, which is doing very well. We really like having them over there with us. Dollar General, which was brokered by a national broker out of Atlanta.
Don't need too many of them.
Too late. And of course, you're familiar with the DPS facility. Burns Brothers discounted that corner, what we consider fairly heavily, to help that transaction go through because that was such an important project for Edinburgh and our region out there. We We used to feel alone out there, but now there's so much growth on that corridor. It's amazing to see the traffic increase the way it has. There's just so much more going on out there than there was. So several years ago, Mr. Burns had conceptualized an idea of bringing some high-end retail to our sector out there. And we worked with several consultants, Dallas, and we came up with the Resaca Market. And that was going to have influences from the Riverwalk, La Cantera, the Quarry, things that we all have visited and we liked. And so we narrowed down a design that basically would serve those purposes. And at the time, we worked with the EDC and we received $1.5 million for a first phase of that. And that first phase included...
Excuse me, I'm sorry for interjecting, but sure. I just want to be clear. So that $1.5 million was not for the residential infrastructure, but for a different infrastructure?
Yes.
Okay.
It's completely for Resaca Market.
Completely for the Resaca Market?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That consisted of the concrete drive and the detention feature, which is the Resaca, and it created the access for the pad sites. Now, the Resaca was actually designed to just be the detention and drain all the parking lot and everything into it, but that seemed like it would have some ecological issues later on, and so we diverted the water to the regular master drainage plan so that semi-polluted water won't go into the Resaca. So we absorbed that cost to do it that way because it was just a cleaner way of doing it. So basically, with the $1.5 million that the council, EDC, contributed to that, we spent a little over $1 million of our own money, proceeds from the DPS tract sale, so that we could put in the sanitary lines and storm drains connected with that, as well as the water. So now all those sites that you see along the interstate are permittable. We can now build buildings there and attract retailers. What kind of jump-started the project is we had a gentleman from Dallas who was a established hotel developer. You may know and be familiar with Trammell Crow. They were around many years ago, did big projects, and he worked with Trammell Crow for many years. And we secured an earnest money contract for a hotel site with the idea that other retail uses would come along with that. They didn't want to just stick a hotel out there. That didn't make sense. But by working with him, we were able to attract Alamo Drafthouse, who had made a first pass at the Valley Edinburgh and had, for whatever reason, moved on and gone another direction. They came back around. We were able to secure a letter of intent with them to bring in Alamo Drafthouse. At the same time, we got introduced to Synergy, which is basically a dinner theater, high-end, a lot of technology, and then a component that's from small children to adults, arcade and entertainment center, zip lines, rope course, escape rooms, bowling, sports bar. It was really a large venue. It's a 2-acre building, 90,000 square feet is what they require. And we have a letter of intent with them. And it's still on the table, but they're requesting additional incentives, which we'd like to talk to you all about at a later time. But we fit their demographic. They like the Valley, they like Edinburgh, they really like the location, but we need some more discussions with them. Now, besides those people, we offered to donate a site for Topgolf. We offered them a piece of land right in the front and made a very nice, attractive package for them because we wanted them in Edinburgh along the interstate. I think that would have been the best location for them, in my opinion. We also, several years ago, we offered Cabela's a full site. We offered Great Wolf Lodge a full site. If you're not familiar with Great Wolf Lodge, they're a 25-acre project. It's basically an indoor water park with a pretty cool hotel aspect to it. And even with donating land, anywhere from several million to quite a few $1 million, it's been very difficult to attract types of businesses like those to our area. But it didn't come cheap. And we thought it was worth, the time and effort to make those presentations. And so that's where we sit today. We've tried to do what we could to attract major businesses to the valley, and we've offered to donate these tracts. And this isn't, this isn't like a large project, retail, residential that is just cash money.
Right.
We borrowed money from the bank that we've paid back, and it wasn't easy,
Right.
especially during the downtime of 2009, 2008.
Okay, can you elaborate a little bit more on the $1.5 million?
Sure.
The agreement of the $1.5 million, as you know it, as you know what the agreement entails?
Yes.
So we can have, we as a board can educate ourselves in exactly what that $1.5 million entailed.
Sure.
And if you can bring one of those easels up here and show us exactly what that $1.5 million infrastructure improvements were part of? That would be great, because I can't see it.
glare.
Yeah, I couldn't see it very, very good. Right. Right. I'm sorry, but so the public can hear, can you just move that easel right by and then hopefully we can see it from there?
You can see it through the camera.
Or we can actually see it through the camera?
How about that? Is that better?
Yes, that's good, that's good. Just so everybody can hear.
Okay. So the $1.5 million came to this entrance off the expressway, the concrete roadway up to the Synergy site, the Resaca, and this portion of the retaining wall. We have a concrete retaining wall on this portion because that's where the wind blows the hardest against that bank, and we didn't want erosion. So that's $1.5 million out of the $10 million that is projected for the whole.
For the whole Resaca area.
Right. So budget was for basically access and get the Resaca in. And we did that. But that $1.5 million didn't include the water and sanitary, basically.
It did?
It did not.
It did not. So you extended all those utilities to the pad sites that are up there,
Yes,
which are the ones all along the frontage?
correct.
And how big are those pad sites?
Each building you see here is approximately 80 by 300, 24,000. So just this first phase is about 140,000 square feet of shell space, plus the 2-acre building for Synergy. But you also have, this is the hotel site, which is by itself, and all utilities are at that site as well. So you have somewhere between 140 and 150,000 square feet of retail ready to build on, permittable, plus this tract being 2 acres plus parking, maybe 6 acres, and then another 5-acre tract here. So all that's fully developed, and it's part of the overall $10 million for that area. 1.5 was just for the street, the Resaca, and the retaining wall. So
Now,
we added about $1 million, a little over $1 million to do the sanitary and the water.
Right.
excuse me, the $10 million budget was for what? Just the infrastructure?
Yes. That wasn't any buildings or anything. That would be this is Burns Boulevard here. This is La Ciena Boulevard. So we would have extended La Ciena to this point, constructed all this new roadway and the interior roadway in both directions with the Resaca. And that would have generated about 500,000 square feet of retail area.
So that's budgeted $10 million for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then 1.5 million is going to go to that. Are you done with that project completely, the $10 million worth?
No.
How
no.
far are we on that?
We have spent $1.5 million from the EDC to construct this first phase of roadway to produce this 150,000 square feet and these two large pad sites.
When did we start this project, sir?
About 2 years ago.
Okay,
In
so
fact,
in
coming right
16,
up on 2 years.
on or about 16?
I believe it was March of 16.
Okay. And since then, we've only spent the 1.5 million the EDC has given?
We have added a little over $1 million, about $1.25 million to that.
So you
So
probably
you've spent
matched.
$1.5 million, and we've put up $1.25 million, more or less.
And project-wise, what is the length that it'll take to complete from where you're at for the projected 10 million? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what the agreement stated, or am I mistaken?
My understanding with the 1.5, what we did is a $10 million sales tax TERS.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The idea was to, and I think on our projected construction schedule, we did a 5-year budget to build out most of it, except for some of the condominiums that were projected to be over here. So we have 5 years to build out a lot of that. And our main focus was to get these front users in because, again, you can't have a hotel sitting out there. You have to have kind of a mix and a momentum. And we haven't really been able to negotiate further with some of these people because we came upon the election cycle and we weren't really able to come and discuss financial incentives for large retailers. We kind of have been waiting till the new board got in place.
Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean the election cycle came in, you couldn't talk about anything?
Well, we don't know that this board would have wanted to pick up right now or get seated. It's just new people coming in. We would have had to introduce them to all the old people, which we're ready to do. We'd invite all of you to come out and see what we've done, and we'd like to introduce you to the people we've talked to and just pick up where we left off. We just didn't really know any of you up until this point.
So Mr. Gilliland, the EDC has only contributed for what's out there currently, $1.5 million.
Yes, sir.
And that $1.5 million in the agreement will be repaid. Is that correct?
That's my
or am I
understanding.
reading
No,
it
that's my
incorrectly?
understanding. You're correct.
So that 1.5 will be repaid within the 5 years of the agreement from when it was executed. Is that correct?
That is the intention of the contract, and the idea was that, the sales taxes would be accumulated and it would pay a portion of it, and if for some reason the board wasn't happy, then whatever wasn't paid would be completed by the Burns brothers.
So it wouldn't be like in all our other agreements where we, as the EDC, would have to contribute to that difference. The contribution would come from the actual developer to whatever difference that is. If the sales tax didn't meet the bond amount or whatever, what have you, the developer would incur those costs, not the EDC, not the city.
If I understand your question correctly, yes.
Yeah, I'm not articulating it very well,
Well,
but
the way the contract was set up was very reasonably. It had clawback provisions, which protect the city. And what those clawback provisions do is they protect the city in the event that nothing ever gets done out there. So in the contract, the board has the right to request full repayment of the money. Now, if some of it has come in through sales tax and half is left, Burns Brothers is responsible for that. It's pretty cut and dried.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, and for all our understanding. Now, the next question I have for you, there was a is it a water plant that's supposed to be built
As part of this project?
as part of the agreement?
Not part of this agreement.
Not part of this agreement. Okay.
No. In the original TERS, 10 years ago, a discussion and a requirement of a water tower, a water
Okay,
storage
water
tower,
Okay, I'm sorry.
was included at that time. And it was based on having a certain number of homes, and we haven't reached that point yet.
Did it have a time limit?
There was a time limit and a restriction on homes, and it was extended at one time. I have to check and see. I know that we haven't reached the home site threshold.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you want to elaborate on?
No, we just, we appreciate working with you guys, and, we have some really interesting people we'd like to introduce you with. Some people that would be great to have here in the Valley. And, again, we operate an office out there every day, and if any of you want to come by, we'd be more than happy to show you around. And, I don't know if you're aware, we have an elementary school out there as well, and we have made available 4, 5, 6 miles worth of walking and jogging trails, which the whole community for miles around come and park out there in the morning. We have ponds with fish in them, and got a park and a playground and a swimming pool. And, it's people tell us they really like being out there, and it's a great community. The 3 subdivisions we have are all gated, and we maintain at our expense a dusk to dawn security watch. You can buy a home from $175,000 to $250,000, 200 to 300, and 300 on up. And so we are able to attract a very nice demographic of families and professionals, and we really like what we do out there, to be honest with you.
All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one more. I just wanted a clarification on you mentioned 1.2 million that maybe you guys had already invested. Is that for the utility infrastructure that you've extended in there?
Yes, Mr. Prasad.
And those are all public utilities, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are what feed the pad sites.
Just, go ahead, Mike.
No, I just wanted to say, as far as the council here, we definitely encourage businesses to come in I used to live on Davis Road back in the day, and there was nothing there. So, and now I've seen the development, and I was there at the ribbon cutting with the DPS office, and, it's a nice sight to see the ponds and everything going up there. And yes, I would love to have businesses out there, because that means more money for the EDC to go ahead and use to develop and grow Edinburgh. And, we got our very fresh, brand-new executive director now that he's already been warned by all of us. Hope you're ready to work, man, because there's a lot of work to be done. But I'm encouraged in the fact that we have sites like this, that you guys have invested in making it available, turnkey, ready to build with all utilities there. As our job is to encourage businesses to come down here. Your place or any other place, I don't care, as long as the businesses come down here and generates jobs and generates a tax revenue. And basically, it's a beautiful site, and I'm hoping to see in the very near future some businesses go in there. Not only the growth that will end up in that section, now that's going to be the new way to get to the beach, if I'm correct. So there's a lot of stuff going down that way. And, I definitely want to go ahead and help everybody in developing and bringing down businesses. And if you happen to be the right fit, more power to you. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make sure that we bring somebody down here that can generate and create jobs and generate a tax revenue for all of us to benefit from. And the good thing about it is you can go a lot north, and Edinburgh keeps on going that way. We're not landlocked. So thank you for investing in Edinburgh.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And while we can pull permits and build buildings and everything, the water just got inspected by the city. We have our city inspectors out there, and we still have to plat some of the area over there, so we're not quite done with the platting of the utilities. But it would be a fantastic place for, any retailer to locate. And it's not just for retailers. The public already comes out and jogs around the Resaca, and it's fully open to the public. We want families out there. We don't care where they live or if they drive from Parr or McAllen or whatever. We have, cousins and nephews and people that come out there and they just like being out there. And we're not done yet. But we have been on a little bit of a hold, just waiting to see how we could proceed. And we need some guidance on that. And we certainly would like for you guys to come out and help us with that.
And another thing, the reason for my question is a lot of times people don't see how much investment is there because they only see the surface. The public utilities are a big factor, it's a big expense, it's a big commitment on behalf of a developer to upfront that money, which ends up being part of the city system. And so I just wanted to, demonstrate that, you guys have done a lot, even if you don't see the surface, and I'm encouraged by it.
That's a
truly.
very good point. Mr. Posadas obviously is an engineer, and he has a phenomenal working experience. And a lot of times when you see a large tract of land as you're going down the expressway, you think, look at the horses out there, and isn't that nice? And well, our land is fully developed for all intents and purposes. We have water lines that run the whole 2 miles worth of frontage. If you're familiar with the booster station down there by the Bagley Produce and the DPS site, we tie into that. And the trunk lines are out there. There's fire hydrants that we have to mark so we don't shred over them when we're mowing grass. So, there's other developments that have gone in recently where the city has put in pins, $50-60 million to do what the Burns Brothers did on bank loans. We didn't come in and ask for, extensive help, and I think just the ultimate goal.
44.5 million?
1.5.
46.5 million, you mean?
It varies. Well, there's other projects in other cities that are a lot more money than ours, and we try to have a reasonable approach to it. We don't go out and throw 150 lots on the ground and hope somebody's going to buy them. We kind of do a just-in-time inventory where we have enough lots for people and builders, and we don't care what your builder is as long as they're well capitalized and they're going to get your home built. But we don't hold it down to 1 or 2 people. But again, what's really rewarding is that you see a dusty field really go to families and parks. And, what I really enjoy is when I see like a grandfather out there with a little boy and they're fishing. And I don't know that they're catching, well, I don't know that they're catching a lot of great fish, but they're probably having a great time. And that's what makes all this kind of worthwhile.
All right, appreciate it. Any other questions?
Yes, just to interject.
Yeah.
On the building side, are there other builders that are invited to build there?
For the homes?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I suggest you get in touch with the director with the Association of Realtors so we can move that, because the more house rooftops we put on there, the more feasible this project is going to become. People are going to request for that type of venues and that type of retail, and the more people we got there, it'll be a little bit easier. Also, how much more affordable will that area be than what we have here on the shops? Because I know the shops is a little bit closer proximity to Trenton and probably have a higher dollar, but maybe we can do something to expedite people to move to where you're at.
Well, we're really grateful that the shops at Trenton came in because, like I said before, we really kind of felt like we were out there for a while, and now all this has grown up. And First Hartford has done a very professional job there and brought in the stores that people shop at. And I think we're the next logical stop. As you mentioned, Monte Cristo is a new connector to the island. You almost have a Loop 410 effect of bringing people from the island through Harlingen, all through the Delta, and you end up on 281, I-69. I mean, that's huge. That's the reason we sold the Dollar General to the people from Atlanta was because they found us geographically through Google Maps. They wanted to be in that area because they knew that was a growth area. That's an intersection of your major collectors. And plus, Ware goes now to one of the other developers in Texas A&M and on to the west, all the way to Mission. So Monte Cristo, FM 1925, is going to play a major role, as I see it, in Edinburgh's growth. Yeah.
All right, appreciate it.
Could I interject something?
Sure.
Hi, my name is Kent Burns. I'm the actual developer. Thank you for having us. I wanted to let you people know that we're actually doing very well on the residential side. We've always focused on that, knowing that commercial follows residential. It's been quite a challenge, but the last 2 years we've really done really well, so much so that we're building new subdivisions at the time. Also, I wanted to dispel any kind of concerns that the board may have on this $1.5 million note. It's a lot of money, I know that it is, but at the end of this contract, if nothing were done, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to write you a check for $1.5 million. Sure. We pay back our loan.
I appreciate
I just
that.
wanted y'all to know that.
And you know, that means a lot to us, because there is a lot of rumors and innuendos out there, and for you to come and say that and pretty much tell the public that their tax money will be reimbursed if there's no development out there,
Absolutely.
that means a lot to us as
we
the
were always
stewards.
taught that. You don't
Right.
borrow money without paying it back.
Right.
Everything that we've done out there, we paid on our own dime. We didn't ask the city or county. And you take our drainage system, that doesn't just drain La Cienega, it drains the whole region. It's 150 foot wide by 35 foot. I mean, that's a county size deal.
Almost 2 miles long.
Almost 2 miles, we had to pay for that. And we had to dig the dirt and place the dirt, compact it, and as developers, you gentlemen know, man, that is a lot of money. It took a long time. And then 2008 hit, the debacle with the subprime lending deal happened, and I sat there thinking, man, why'd I get out of farming? But we held our own, and were able to manage to stay above the water, and here we are today. I think we have a great project. Remain optimistic. It's challenging. The demographics in the valley are challenging for every developer, not just us being out there. It's just hard. It doesn't bode well or show well on our demographic. They don't see the shadow economy of Mexico. It plays a whole lot into this whole deal. But we continue to go out and try to bring people into the city of Edinburgh. Edinburgh's been great to my family. We've been here all my life, farming all my life. Most of you have probably seen our ranch. It has the Blue Cross at night up by Civil Road on the west side of the expressway. We've been farming there since the early 80s. And so, yes, Edinburgh is more to me than just the bottom line of making a lot of money. It really matters what I leave there for my kids and for the city. It means our dad taught us that. So we don't have corporate money or extremely deep pockets, but what we do have is a lot of pride and a lot of will, and that's where we stand today. And I just wanted to bring this up to you, Jim.
That means a lot to us. Thank you very much, Mr. Burns. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to hire a forensic auditor to audit the transactions of the Edinburgh Economic Development Corporation for the last 3 years. This item was included on the agenda. I included it on the agenda, and basically, since we have a new executive director, and for him to start a clean slate, I think it's only logical for us to hire a forensic auditor to review the last 3 years of transactions that they met the policies and procedures of the EDC and the city, and just so Mr. Trevino can have peace of mind that everything was done in accordance with those policies and procedures, and any findings that we encounter, that we correct and we incorporate those findings or those recommendations into new policies or amendments of our policies. And I only think that this is going to better facilitate information to the public so the public can understand exactly where their tax dollars are going. So I think this is only the logical thing to do.
I agree, Mr. President, and we'll start those conversations now.
You look for a forensic auditor?
Yes, sir.
Right, okay. Any questions or comments?
So are we just going out and looking right now? Is that what this item is, or?
Yeah, we're giving him the authorization to go and hire a forensic auditor, yes.
But none have been selected, or are we
No,
getting a selection?
no auditor has been selected. It's going to be his authority to go and find a forensic auditor, and one that can do it pretty quickly. Auditing right now is pretty much happening throughout the state and throughout the country. This is the time where everybody gets audited. So we need to find somebody that has the ability to get on it right now and perform the audit within our schedule. So he's going to be tasked to find a forensic auditor that has experience in it, and then he'll hire him. Since it's a professional service, it doesn't need to go out for bids or for proposals. It's basically a professional service, and someone that meets the guidelines that Mr. Trevino will set is who he will decide to hire.
And the cost of which we've got a budgeted item for?
We have a budget item for legal fees and accounting fees, so of course it's going to be within reason. They're going to have to provide us a proposal of how much it would cost before he would enter into agreement.
I'll bring it back to the board for final approval.
Right.
I'd
Okay.
like to make a motion for any more discussion.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay.
I would like to make a motion to authorize the executive director to hire an auditor.
I have a motion by Mr. Carranza,
I second.
second by Mr. Farias. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item approved. And for the record, Mr. Carranza arrived at about 12:10.
I think it was more like 12:01, but
Was it? Okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's go with 12:05.
Split it.
You were strolling in, so you might have taken a few. Okay, item number 7, discuss and consider approval of sponsorship for the Edinburgh Consolidated Independent School District Baseball Program for the All-American Baseball Classic. Mr. Trevino?
Mr. President, going through this, I know we're getting inundated about sponsorships all the time. There is some line items in the budget for sponsorship, but again, I would like to work with our attorney because EDC funds by statute cannot be used for, it has to be used for marketing purposes. And if we can make an agreement with the post group here that they're going to help market the city and the EDC through Twitter, Facebook accounts, and any type of print media, I think we can develop a sign authorization that will help with this request.
Okay. Well, we as if Mr. Trevino wasn't here, but the board was when they did a presentation on the baseball program. And as you might be aware, what they're trying to do is the school district, the 4 coaches from the school, they collaborated and they decided that they wanted to do a tournament during the spring break week and invite baseball teams from across the state into Edinburgh to have a tournament. And currently, per the attachment or the agreement they submitted, there's approximately, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 2. There's about 24 to 30 teams that are going to be coming for the first year, for the first annual tournament. And 3 of those teams are from out of the valley. Since this is the first year, they weren't able to get too many of the out of town, out of valley participants, but they anticipate getting a lot of these other schools from across the state to come into the city of Edinburgh and participate in this tournament. So keep in mind that this is the first year. First year things are always hard to get started, and in my opinion, I'm all about the kids, about showcasing our talent that we have here in the valley, and helping promote the kids that go to our schools, our local schools, And so I tend to always side with granting these types of recommendations or these requests, just because of the fact that these are our kids, these are our future, these are the kids that are going to be leading our city and in our county and our state for years to come after we're all gone. And I really think that this would benefit our city long term, especially if we get it to where we have 50, 80 teams coming in from across the state, that they're going to come using our hotels, they're going to be eating at our restaurants, they're going to be using gas around town. I think it's just something. I know they have one in Laredo that is huge. I mean, it is really, really huge that a lot of people go there, and I think it's helped their economic growth during that week. So I think this is just something that can be really, really good for our city as time goes.
Mr. President, at the presentation last time, they did mention, we did ask them a lot of questions, Mr. Trevino, about what they're doing to promote the city, what things, are they partnering with certain hotels so that the information gets out of what's available for people to come in? And they answered a lot of those things. So I'm in favor of doing something like this so long as it's done within the purview of the EDC with an agreement that kind of writes down all those things that they committed to doing. And obviously with our legal counsel, I think I'd be more comfortable knowing that it does, we do it the right way.
Right. No, I agree with you 100%. We got to do it the right way. We got to be transparent. They're requesting $10,000 for and I think he said that it was going to pay for the umpires, and it's going to pay for the trophies and for shirts and stuff like that for the participants. It doesn't mean that we have to give them the $10,000. We can give them something or close to. So that's a discretion of the board to make that determination. I just feel that I think we need to give them something since it's our kids. You know, it's our students, and I'm always in favor of helping our students and our kids in developing. So that's my stance. That's my position.
I wanted to ask a question, Mr. President, to
Sure.
legal. Pertaining that I sit on the school board, I see that 4 of the schools here that are going to be participating are from Edinburgh. I just don't want to take any chance of somebody saying that I did favored over this because I sit on the school board. So would it be the best thing for me to abstain and not go ahead and vote on this?
I believe so, Mr. Farias.
Okay,
Probably
okay, I just have to point
refrain
that
from
out.
discussion
Yeah,
and
refrain from
voting on it.
discussion.
Yes, yes. So I refrain from discussion, and unfortunately, as much as I love kids, I'm not going to be able to vote on this one. So I hope you
Okay.
can all understand.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Any discussion on the amount?
I say that we go ahead and authorize, I'll make a motion if there isn't any further discussion, that we authorize what's being requested at $10,000, and that we approve for the executive director to get together with legal to make sure that the contract is appropriate
That we
for
get
us.
something in return.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion by Dr. Sauceda, second by Mr. Posadas. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And just for the record, Mr. Farias abstained from vote, so it's a 4-0 vote. Also, just to let the public know that all the games will be played in Edinburgh. They will be at the Edinburgh Fields. So the participants from outside the valley and also from Brownsville all the way to Roma, they'll be coming in and they'll be, eating at our restaurants. It's a week-long event. They'll be eating at our restaurants, pumping gas at our gas stations, and not only that, but there'll be some good competition for our schools. So just so the public can know where that money is going. All right, so we got agenda item number 8. Oh, did I vote? No, I didn't vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Farias abstained. Thought I had taken the vote. Okay, so it's a 4-0 with one abstention. Okay, number 8, discuss and consider approval of a sponsorship for the Greater McAllen Association of Realtors Annual TAR Leadership Update Mega Regional Meeting.
I
Mr.
would like to
Trevino?
make a comment.
Yes.
I sit on I'm a member of the Greater McAllen Association of Realtors as a regular member. Do you think I should abstain from voting or discussion, council?
You're not a decision maker, you're not on the board.
No, sir.
I don't think it would be a problem, but if you were to abstain, it may, go over better with the public, given the fact that you do certainly support that program and you are a paid member of it, so.
Yes, I would do that. I'll follow that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Carranza will not be involved in any of the discussions regarding this agenda item. Do we have anyone from Greater McAllen Association of Realtors here? Yes.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm Monica Peña, and I'm the Association Executive with Greater McAllen Association of Realtors.
Thank you for being here.
I want to thank you guys for giving me a chance to present this to you. I've worked with Mr. Enriquez. I worked for the Boys and Girls Club of Edinburgh for a few years, and I worked with you with our 45-year anniversary door project, and you were very instrumental in that, and I thank you for that. And
You're
Mr.
very
Farias, I
welcome.
know that you were pretty involved as well, so thank you guys.
You're very welcome.
So I'm very happy to be representing the association in this matter with you. And although Mr. Carranza, mentioned that he serves on a committee, there's a completely different committee and task force that's working on setting this event up. Our association and our region includes 12 associations throughout all of South Texas, and there's over 3,000 realtors that are members of the 12 associations. We cover an area going over past Victoria, and so every so many years it alternates locations, and we were very excited last year to put in a bid and be able to be accepted to be hosting this regional meeting in McAllen and in the Valley. So we're very excited to highlight how much growth we've had in the last couple of years. I think it's been about 10 years since they were last here, so we have a lot to show them. And we have a lot to show about how what the Valley has to offer and how we've grown. And of course, my city of Edinburgh. So I'm very excited about having them all here. And being able to have realtors from other areas come here helps them be able to sell what we have as well. And so if they're looking for partnering with local realtors or companies, or they have investors from other areas and they see the opportunities for investments to come here, they help sell and make those connections for our local members. So if there's any questions specifically about the event, I'm happy to answer them, or I can kind of give you a little bit of overview.
Right. One question that I have is, do you always have this event in McAllen, or is this, so you rotate it?
It rotates
Okay.
by area, and it usually goes north and south. And so it's at least because there's 12 associations, I think it's been at least 10 years since it was last hosted in the RGV.
Okay.
So what
So
other
it's been
areas?
it's been at South Padre Island, it's been in Harlingen, so it's usually been on that side of the valley for the last 6 years.
Okay. So then, down the road, there might be an opportunity for it to be hosted here in Edinburgh.
Yes, absolutely, it could be hosted here in Edinburgh. Like I said, the next year will be in the north side of the county, of the region, and the next year after that would be on the south side of the region also, so it could come back to Edinburgh.
So how many people usually attend the conference?
About 300. We also have our state leaders from the Texas Association of Realtors who come, and we have at least 10 of them. So there will be the presidents, the secretary, the treasurer, the incoming president-elect. So we have a great variety of state leadership that comes down and presents to the attendees any updated information on the outlook of real estate and where we've been and where we're going. But about 300 members attend on that day, on the day of the conference. It's a full-day conference. The night before, there is a leadership dinner, and we have about 75 to 100 attendees to that leadership dinner. And we are looking at different locations for hosting that, and one of them is the Edinburgh Birding Center. So that leadership dinner will be something where we get one-on-one with the officers and directors from all 12 associations.
Yeah.
I have a question. Have any of your other EDCs sponsored or become sponsorship? people
Not
on
up to not up to this point. There have not been. We have been in communications with other EDCs as well.
Even historically, before?
I couldn't tell you that there hasn't been previous involvement. I don't believe so. But I have to go back and get that information, and I can update this
Go ahead.
group.
Go ahead.
One question on the conference itself, is there going to be breakout sessions where opportunities to showcase our area? With the
Absolutely, there are
sponsorship?
breakout sessions. We have 3 sessions in the morning and currently 2 sessions for the afternoon. As a sponsor, one of the things that you'll be able to have is you will be able to have booth at the event, depending on the level of sponsorship. And at the booth, you could set up computers, videos, information, anything that you would want to be able to display on a quick basis for the realtors, so that you would get that exposure to the attendees. We are expecting a very dynamic and well-known speaker at our lunchtime meeting, and so we expect that to swell up to about 500 to 600 attendees just for the luncheon. And so depending on your sponsorship and your location of your booth, you could have exposure to a greater number of individuals in attendance. But the key is that we have, not only do we have members who sell homes, we have members who are CCIM, so they're commercial specialists in the real estate industry. And some of our members, for instance, one of our ex-officios, so he's been a president in the past, and he's the current vice chair of TREC, the Texas Real Estate Commission. He's also the liaison from our National Association of Realtors to, I believe, to China or Thailand. So he travels all over the world. And we have several members who are now recently became certified in commercial real estate.
Now, me personally, the way I look at things in terms of when people are requesting certain sponsorships and stuff of that nature, I use the one factor that I always use is that event going to be in Edinburgh? If it's in Edinburgh, all those people that you're referring to, 300 participants coming into our city of Edinburgh, that creates an economic advantage for us. But since this one isn't in Edinburgh, that's my concern of how, the type of sponsorship that we would give. I'm not saying that we can't give a sponsorship, especially if we send our executive director out there and promotes Edinburgh and all that kind of stuff. I would advocate for that, but I wouldn't be a major sponsor because it's not in Edinburgh. If it was in Edinburgh, you could rest assured that I would be an advocate of it, just because of the number of participants that would be coming into our city, and
Yes.
for that given. Is it a day event or is it a 2-day event?
We consider it a 2-day event.
Okay.
The dinner is the night before, which would be on June the 7th, and the full-day conference is on the Friday, June
Right.
8th.
So the 2-day event, you have all those participants coming into Edinburgh. I mean, that creates an economic advantage for us. But that's me. We have four other individuals here that can do it or evaluate it differently. So
Well,
I'll defer to you.
along those lines, that would have been my question, is what's the benefit to Edinburgh? And I think you kind of answered that. But I noticed on the list of associations, Edinburgh doesn't show up. How difficult would it be to put Edinburgh on there?
Edinburgh the associations have been recognized by the National Association of Realtors, and so the way our association was set up in its corporate documentation, it's named Greater McAllen Association, but we serve all of Hidalgo and Starr County. So we have over 1,000 realtor members who are part of our association, and so we do have members of Edinburgh. It used to be that there was an Edinburgh Association of Realtors, but they were incorporated into the Greater McAllen. The legal name of the association is Greater McAllen, and that's how it's recognized with our national
Right,
association.
maybe rephrasing, if we were to do something, could we begin the process of maybe suggesting through the, whatever the process is, that instead of the Greater McAllen, it could be the Greater McAllen Edinburgh, right? I mean, if there is a process to add Edinburgh to it, I think that would, it just puts our name out there. Because right now,
completely
there's one
understand.
name that's being put out.
I'm not going to be closed to anything, but.
No, I mean,
And I will say that
an
our,
attempt is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I understand your concern. Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I just want to, you said a dinner, special dinner here at the World Birding Center. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay. The dinner is when everybody comes in, we kind of get back together. As officers and directors from each of the different associations, we come together. We have special guests, a lot elected officials. We give a chance to all of those traveling from outside the Rio Grande Valley to come in and meet not only other leaders of the associations, but our local community leaders. And so that dinner is something that we want to express our South Texas hospitality. We want to show them something different. The committee still hasn't confirmed or firmed up a decision on where that dinner is going to be. There's a couple of locations. I think Tres Lagos is a location that is being considered as well, because we want them to see, hey, we have 2 university systems in Edinburgh. And the other one is the Edinburgh Birding Center that is being considered. So we do appetizers and reception type of thing, and then we go to a dinner. We haven't decided if it's going to be a formal sit-down, or we want to keep it where it's more of a networking opportunity for the officers, directors to network with our leaders. Again, being our local city or area leaders, whether it be elected officials or officials such as you, gentlemen here.
Okay. All right. Well, just for the record, the membership or the sponsorship amounts range from $250 to $10,000. This item is up for discussion and consideration. So
I want to add
Yes.
one more thing, please, if I
Yes.
can. I'm sorry, excuse me,
Yes,
Mr.
go ahead.
President. We do have Zillow, which is a national, well-known name, who's co-sponsoring the dinner the night before, and they're sponsoring at $2,500.
Okay.
So we have great partnerships, and we're working with also other nationally renowned names of companies to help us with the sponsorship.
Okay, thank you. Or we can also table it and bring it back and let the executive director review it and see what sponsorship levels, if any, are beneficial to the city. We can also do that.
I would suggest that, basically because I definitely want to take every opportunity possible, and this is going to be a congregation of a lot of different people. And we're well-equipped now that we can go ahead and present our city in such a way. I just don't want to miss out on an opportunity, even though I may be in McAllen and the 9 yards. I want to take the business from over there and bring it over here. So that's our job.
This is
that's-
in June, so we still have time.
But yeah,
Right.
we still have time, so yeah, I think it'd be better if we look at it, well, you look at it and give your recommendation on that.
Can I ask a question? Is your membership, who is it open to besides real estate professionals?
We are allowed to have affiliate members, which are chambers of commerce. We have anything that may be connected to the real estate industry as a whole. So we have builders, we have,
And
inspectors,
as a
appraisers.
As a member, we can go to the other association meetings annually, things of that sort. I mean,
Yes.
that might be an opportunity to be a member and promote the area totally.
Yeah, and I would welcome, because we do have, and one of the things they do at the meeting on the full-day workshop at the luncheon is our Texas leadership. They will present to everybody who's present, information that we have access to that we can share with economic development corporations, and they do it very frequently. We have housing data, et cetera, that we make available and accessible to city officials and economic development corporations in the such.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for being here. All right, so do we have a motion?
Motion to table and
Okay,
take it back?
all right.
Yeah, make a motion.
We'll have a motion to table
Second.
by Mr. Faria, second by Dr. Salceda. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It's tabled 4-0 with one abstention. Okay, agenda item number 9, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into a research agreement with the Innovation-Based Learning Institute. Mr. Trevino, I assume we're having the presentation?
Yes,
Yes, okay. Yes, sir. Your name for the record, please?
Dr. Sanchez, Joe Sanchez.
Dr. Sanchez, thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity to the executive team and the board members, and I'm also excited to hear that in your presentations that you're interested in obviously the future generations, and that's exciting to hear, because what I'm going to talk about deals with, exactly that. And so I wanted to thank you first on, and to see that you have a vision for, the future of our children and obviously the community, which is all in one. I'm here to discuss IBL, Innovation-Based Learning and Community-Based Success Resources, a comprehensive economic development concept. And basically, here are some of the issues that I'm sure you're quite familiar with, being in the Economic Development Corporation and being an informed group about issues such as high unemployment rates, low educational attainment, limited skills, labor workforce, lower earning power, obviously college and university community-based resource, kind of a disconnect. Sometimes I know that we work with school districts, but there seems to be, I've worked with school districts too for only about 30 years. And so we know a little bit about our issues that are in making those strong connections, limited student employment, limited innovation, and the brain drain or talent retention that everybody kind of strives for. We want to retain the talent here. However, if we don't have the necessary job market or employers coming in, it's hard to retain our students here. And so then they may take off to San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Dallas, and elsewhere. And that may be pretty much our strong point, and that's why they talk about the brain drain a lot. So innovation-based learning, just to give you a quick overview, is what I call a 21st century instructional delivery approach, where students learn all subject content by focusing on an innovation or idea that they come up with. Okay? Now, there's a lot of different instructional approaches that allow the faculty to give students a project, and the students give that project back to the faculty, and we grade it. Okay? And that's project-based learning. It's a long lasting and term instructional approach. And what I've come up with here recently over the last couple of years in studying and doing research is that I wanted to flip that concept and say, instead of the faculty giving students an idea or project, I thought, why don't we give the students an opportunity to come up with something, anything in the world that they want to come up with, and then we will teach you English, math, science, speech, art, psychology, anthropology, whatever it is, anchoring it around your idea. And that is the difference between innovation-based learning and others that use project-based learning. And project-based learning is pretty popular across the country, okay, in schools and in colleges and universities. I think this is much more a contemporary approach that takes into consideration innovation and creativity, which is what we're all striving for, okay? And the good thing about this is if we anchor the instruction to the student's interest, their project, we got a little dangling carrot in front of them, okay? A motivator to keep them engaged in school, because we know about lower educational attainment, okay? We know the issues that we're confronted here with our public schools, going to universities, or getting good jobs. And so that's the challenge that we want to be able to address with IBL. Here's obviously the goal. We have students that come into our high schools. From our high schools, if they complete, okay, successfully, they go to the workforce, and or they go to the college or university. Ultimately, at the end, they come out and they're prepared. They're a prepared labor force for economic development. So y'all are asking excellent questions regarding how does it help me in Edinburgh? Okay, well, this is exactly that. That this project allows for that infrastructure to start getting built, not just at the college or university level, but at the high school level. Okay, and so what we're basically setting up with IBL, an IBL model, because this IBL model is fueled by the IBL pedagogy. A pedagogy is an instructional approach. That's all. It's just a fancy word for that. Okay? And so this model is fueled by that pedagogy that is done in the classroom. Okay? And helps that students stay engaged and motivated. And so that's what this model is about. So it's helping our students stay in school, complete their schooling, and then but still dangling that idea. Our goal is to complete them, get them out either into the university or college or to the community, but with not just the basic understanding of English, math, and science, and so forth, and writing skills, but also with the opportunity to maybe, just maybe, come up with an idea that they've been working on for the last couple of years, and that we've vetted in the school districts or in the colleges and universities, that we've vetted over the last couple of years because we're helping them. And they've had master's level, PhD levels, or, our educators in the public schools helping them as well. Okay? And so we're about helping them get that going and telling them, this is why that formula that we learned in math and these chemicals that we learned in science, this is how it's relevant. So all of this is connected and makes a little bit more sense for the students based on the information that we're getting with, with IBL being implemented currently right now at South Texas College, for example. The number one college in the state of Texas. It outdoes Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, all of these areas. And we're completing 20% of our students. So that means the rest are doing worse. And with Hispanic populations, of course. Okay, that's the way that they disaggregate the data over there at the state level. And so we're doing okay, but I think we can do better. And I think this approach is, and that's why I think South Texas said, hey, you know what? We're interested. We're visionary. We're the number one college in the state of Texas. We're number 2 in the nation. We like it. Come and help us do it. And so they're doing that. They didn't pay me any extra, unfortunately, but it's okay. I teach there, so it's okay. At least I got a job. Here's some of the data that we've gotten from our preliminary data. We've gotten more than 127 now. We probably have now closer to 500 students at the ages 14 to 42 that are attending. And here's what their perception is. Gender breakdown, 85.5 males, 61.4 females. And that's, by the way, that demographic is pretty standard across the country. There's been a flip. It used to be a majority males. Now it's kind of flipped. So what does that do to our economy? What does that do to our environment, especially here in a Mexican-American or Hispanic culture? Just a little aside. And so we have student engagement. Students either strongly agreed or agreed in large numbers here that they were engaged when they were told, hey, I'm working on my idea. I like that. Okay? Course persistence, we lose students because they drop out of courses. Well, those that we surveyed said, hey, I'm staying around. I like, what I'm hearing. I'm not just going to learn math or science or English. I'm now applying it to my idea. I'm in. And then student retention also showed strongly agreed, and degree completion. That yes, hey, I'm in for the long haul because at the end, all this is based on kind of motivational theory. I'm a psychologist, so I try to use all the different strategies and approaches and the research that's out there that helps us better understand how to engage students and how to complete them and how to get them, kind of excited about what they're doing. And so, we use a lot of these motivation theories, or at least I do in this approach, and that dangling carrot is a motivator, okay? Because at the end, hopefully at the end, when they complete their college or their high school, whichever it is, if they have a viable idea, just maybe, they'll come before the Economic Development Corporation of Edinburgh and say, we want a pitch competition, okay? Like the Shark Tank, if you're not familiar with pitch competition. And students know Shark Tank, they say, really? Yeah, you get from $500 to $50,000 here in the Valley. I know that because I'm an innovation winner in McAllen Chamber. I won there once before. So I learned about it, so I want to bring it to the students. When I tell students that, they say, $10,000, $50,000? Yeah, If your idea is viable and it can help, you know, it's going to be good because, and they're only doing that. They're not going to, it's money that doesn't go to your pocket. It goes to the development of your idea. Oh, okay, but that's good. If it gets you a job and it creates more jobs, well, that's a win for everybody. Okay? And so this is the numbers that we're getting from our initial findings. The benefits obviously are significant. There's a significant amount of educational benefits as well as employment and business development benefits. And they're there. I don't want to go through all of them, but you know, admission, retention, innovation, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and curriculum relevance. All these, by the way, are what every industry wants in every city. We know that because we collect data from you all, and that's what you tell us. We want a more skilled labor workforce, and we want them to be thinkers. Okay? And that's what we offer here. That's one of the benefits. On the employment side, job placement. We have to place our students. Okay? Just like you all have to get, jobs here for the community, we have to place our students out here in the community working. Okay? We have reduced brain drain because now they're coming to Edinburgh. They don't have to leave to Edinburgh to go to McAllen or Brownsville or San Antonio or anywhere else. They get it here. Because one of the visions that we have as far as IBL goes is that instruction doesn't end at the schools. It has to transition to the community. And that's where you all can come in. And that's why I was excited to hear about your vision with students. And so these are the things that how we have to work together. There's some, I have a little video here. I'm not going to show it all, but just a brief so you can hear from other people besides me because obviously I'm biased. So.
Innovation-based learning, IBL, is a 21st century, correct, student-driven, innovation-centered pedagogy where students learn about each respective subject by examining the implications and applications of the student's content as it relates to each student's selected idea or innovation to a service or product. Basically, IBL is an instructional delivery paradigm that aligns subject content to a student's service or product idea or innovation. Innovation-based learning, IBL, a pedagogy for the 21st century. How can innovation-based learning positively affect students?
Innovation-based learning has a very positive influence on students in any environment because it captivates their imagination and their motivation.
Well, students are engaged when they can connect to the content. If they can connect to the material, then it's more likely for them to understand and be able to put it into practice.
It's essential for interaction in online learning. And it's a challenge mainly in mathematics. I used to be a faculty here for the math department, and I've been teaching for 10 years. And I know in mathematics it's very difficult to make it meaningful for the student. So innovation-based learning actually really helps us in online learning to have that interaction between a student and a student instructor.
We actually discuss what educational resources they want to pursue later on. So you can see that there is some kind of a collaboration, there is engagement where they engage all, between a student to student and also between curriculum to student, because what we have been teaching in the classroom also they discuss it through their ideas.
IBL fits in perfectly because mathematics is a very unique program where there's application, there's theory, and it's a fine balance. And the IBL helps to find that application for students, helps to find that relevance for students. Students always have that tendency to ask, when am I going to use this math? How am I going to use this math? IBL gives them that opportunity to create a project, focus on something, build on something, and then take the pieces of math to give them something constructive.
How did your students respond when they were given an opportunity to talk about their innovation or idea?
When I asked the students to share their innovative idea with me.
Off here for a second. Let's see some of the faculty administrators that have worked with IBL at the college, and they weren't paid spokespeople or anything like that. So they volunteered. They said, you know what? We asked them questions. You're using this. Tell us how it helps. Okay, what have you seen? And so they responded. And then there were some faculty that also said, I've been collecting, some of the faculty, we've been collecting students' ideas. Okay? And here's what some of them are saying. By the way, this is all just text. There's no music or anything. It's interesting to see. I'll show you for a minute or so what students are coming up with.
That's an 8-minute segment.
We're only going to go 7.5. No, I'm just kidding. It's just 30 seconds more,
Okay.
just so you can see a few of them. I understand. These are our students here in the Valley that people say may not have any, enthusiasm or ideas or stuff. That's what they come up with when you ask them. When we open it up to students, they come up with pretty interesting things. And now, if we allow them to use our institutions like public schools, colleges, and universities, our rapid response programs, our 3D printers, if we allow them to do that, then, we will come up with fairly interesting ideas, okay? And so basically, if you see this video here, over here you can see the students' heads there with the different ideas, and then on one side you have educational institutions with their hands involved in that, like faculty and teachers, and then you have the community. Many of these programs that try to change a student success rate in high schools and in colleges and universities, they only work at the institution. They never consider outside the institution, and that's where it breaks down. What we've done here at IBL is we've taken both of those and said, how do we enhance both the educational instruction and the community's involvement, okay, to create ideas. And what we do together is just like that sifter does. We sift out and refine the idea until we get that, the innovation and our new ideas that we could possibly move forward that can create jobs for the student and create jobs for others potentially. And so that's what this image is about. So now why am I here? I'm here because I'm trying to better understand how the educational institutions and the communities function. What are the needs? So what I did is I did some research and I was trying to find out what can we gain, how can I better help and make sure that this idea of IBL, this pedagogy, is a good model, a complete model. So I was thinking we needed to better understand what educational institutions are doing and the community is doing and how do we enhance that. So I asked the question, what can we learn from that? I wanted to find out what are the 6 most innovative cities in the nation doing and what can we gain from that, from those cities? And so that's what I did. And so I did some research and we come up with these 6 cities, and I include Austin, Texas as well because it's not too far behind in 6th place, tied with Boston and others, okay? And I wanted to find out, well, what can we learn from them and what can we do to implement some of the things that they're doing so that we can experience that success as well? Maybe not like them, but close. Maybe we might be able to. You'd be surprised what we could do when we work together, right? And so to make this happen, it does cost money. I'm an educator. I make enough to pay for my bills and the family. But to do this research, it costs about $150,000, with including a variety of line items that I put together in a budget. And what I did is then I did a zip code analysis at the college, or they did it for me, and they said, here are the number of students that are coming from each of the zip codes that we service in the Valley, from Roma to Mercedes, okay? And then they gave me an analysis, and then I broke down the amount by the number of students that we serve from Edinburgh. And the amount in this particular case was 22.5, where that's the number of students that we serve, and that would be the amount that I would be requesting for sponsorship to be able to complete this project, okay? I've done some of it, and I continue to do some more, but it's where I'm going in there. Not just, I'm going in there for at least no less than 2 weeks to each of these cities, and maybe closer to a month. And I'm visiting the institution, the most innovative institution there. I've done some research on that, and their resources around the communities. And I'm trying to find out, I'm doing surveys, I'm doing analysis, and so forth, so on, to get that information and put it all together for us, and then come back and provide that to the ADCs. And so this is the deliverables that it comes with it. An interim report whenever I am down here, because my wife has allowed me to do this, but obviously I have to check in from time to time, make sure the family's okay. regular conference opportunities for us, findings and training manual, and then up to 1 hour at least, 1 hour of consultation services per month for 1 year to the EDCs. So that's what I'm once I put the package together, once I get all the data together, then my objective is to come back and give you a manual that we can use and then implement along with the schools. So I'll be working with the school districts, the colleges and universities, and the economic development corporations to kind of solidify that relationship. I know you might ask, what are the return on investments? And here's a list of things that I've gotten from the UTRGV. There's a research team there that does this, and although these are not specifically to Edinburgh economic development, this is what they have found that they use to help us better understand what happens when a student comes out from our institution, and what do we gain from this investment. So one is training, two is potential for lots of economic development, which we will see. And we will follow our students, because I get asked quite a bit, well, how do we know they're students? Once they're at an IBL institution, for example, like STC or maybe UTRGV or Edinburgh CISD, then we're going to, for lack of a better term, we just call them IBLers so that we can follow them. They've been exposed to IBL, and so what did we gain for that? And then we'll be able to follow up with them. So that's basically what I wanted to present. I don't know if you have any questions or...
My first question, is this a nonprofit?
This is not a nonprofit. I'm a for-profit organization.
It's for-profit?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the money going to be used for, the 22.5, and how did you derive that figure? You said there's 22,500 students, so it's $1 a student?
Well, no, it's not. It's 22,000 is the percentage. I got a percentage of all the students that were attending by zip code, and then I just got a percentage of that amount.
How many students is that?
Oh, you're probably looking at about, because Edinburgh has we have a large Edinburgh population, you're looking at about 8,000 to 9,000 students,
so
approximately.
8,000 to 9,000 students?
Yes.
And so how did you derive what formula did you use to get the 22.5?
Well, I took that percentage of, let's say there's 32,500 students, and then got a percentage of 8,000 students. And I'm not sure if that's 8,000, it could be more. But I took that percentage, and then I got that percentage from the total amount that was going to be required to complete the project.
Okay, so that the 150,000, you took a percentage of that based on the number of students here.
That's correct.
Okay.
That we serve from
Right.
Edinburgh
Right.
district.
So what is what's the money going to be used for? I see in the packet that you have project budget 150,000, and it has a bunch of travel, $20,000, room and board, 25. What is the travel and the room and board and meetings? What is?
Okay, yeah, let me explain. What I'm doing is I'm actually going to that city for 2 to 3 weeks. 4 weeks, I'm actually traveling there, and I'm going to be taking surveys and questionnaires.
The cities that you had on there, those big cities?
Yeah, based on research, that's what I came up with. And so, based on the research, that's what I did. I said, what are they doing? Let's go find out, and let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
That's a lot of money. I mean, $150,000 a year, you're looking at almost, I mean, there's not even anything other than, who's your research assistant?
Well, I have like other people that do qualitative research and that type of people that require, obviously they get paid for their services. So I go to them and we work together. There's a research team that I would rely on to get that kind of assistance as well.
You know, I did say that I'm all about students, but to a degree to where we have economic impact and how it benefits us as a city. My opinion is, you know, this is something that will benefit the city long term, but that's why there's other organizations, other grants out there that can directly provide the money that you're looking for, especially for a profit organization versus a nonprofit organization. Right. I just don't feel that the amount requested is beneficial to us. Again, that's my opinion. I think there's a lot of other things that we could definitely use this money for. And I'm not saying that what you're doing is not something that is required or needed for our area. Right. But for us to give that amount of money, it just doesn't sit well with me. I don't think we're utilizing our funds taxpayer dollars correctly. So
Right.
that's my opinion.
I understand, and yeah, it is challenging for a for-profit organization to kind of go forth and try to make it happen. But you know, you do what you got to do to make it happen.
Right.
At
And
the
I'm
end of
just
the
being
day-
honest.
No,
You know,
and
I mean,
appreciate that.
I don't do anything other than that. Just I say what I feel, and regardless of who it offends or what,
Oh, yeah.
I typically
And
always.
no offense taken. It's,
Right.
You know, this is not my first rodeo.
Right.
And, you know, you could tell by the hair.
Yeah.
And so I've been around the block a few times, and this is not anything new, and I'm sure that I'll hear these kinds of comments, but I also know that it's not too long-term either, because we're
Right.
getting students that are completing right away, and we're
Right.
going to have pitch competitions. You know, if you had a pitch, do you have pitch competitions here in Edinburgh CISD, Edinburgh Economic Development, or not yet?
No.
No?
Not
And-
that I realize. No.
No? Okay.
I've only been here for 3 months, so.
Oh, okay.
I
okay.
don't really know.
What was that again?
Like pitch competitions, like in McAllen, Mission, they have pitch competitions where people can go, they prepare a package, and the UTRGV Small Business Administration helps them prepare a package, and they train them, and then they go before a board, and they present their idea, and they could get funding from, you know, $500 to $50,000 to get their project going, seed money, and it's grant.
Right.
They're given that, and that's already a job right there. And the first thing they ask is, are you going to open up an office in our area? Of course, and that's, you know, that's important.
Right.
And so I understand that, but that's already going to be happening here probably in, you know, within a matter of you know, as the students come out one semester to the next,
Right.
because we've been pushing that. So I don't want to think that it's going to be like, oh, it's going to be years. Eventually, I mean, we'll see, you know, a group of people coming out, and I envision that if IBL is implemented like I envision it will be, and I already visited UT Austin, and they were interested in IBL as well. I'm here from the Valley, so I had to, you know, stay close.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
they were interested in that concept, so I envision that. I say we'll have Silicon Valleys all over the country, or the Valley at least. We will.
Let's hope so. Any other comments or questions? None?
Well, just out of curiosity, Dr. Sanchez, are you a professor?
Yes, I am.
At STC?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
And
I'm a
they
psychology
do not have funding for these types of things?
There's a little bit of an issue in that whenever you come up with something, and I'm sure you've heard, there's examples of it. Whenever you're at an institution and they're paying your salary as a faculty, okay? If you go in there with an idea, you got to make sure that you keep those two things separate. I cannot use the university in any way to make this, because this is my own project. Okay? And so you have to keep it separate. And so that's what I do. Okay? And as a result of that, because they're using it right now, but they're using it for free. I can't charge them. Otherwise, there's a conflict of interest, a dual relationship. And so I have to be very careful with that. So that's the way that I separate it, and that's a hit I have to take, and that's why I have to come out and ask, hey, you know what? The people that are going to be impacted are the cities. So I'm going to go to the people that are going to get impacted in a positive way and say, hey, here's how we make it happen. Okay? And, you know, we'll get the naysayers and say, no, I don't see it just there yet. And I understand that. But you know,
It's not about me being naysayers. I agree with what you're doing.
best for the
I
city.
just don't think that taxpayer dollars should be utilized for this type of endeavor. I'm not diminishing in any way what you're doing.
Right, no,
okay?
and I understand that. And I don't mean that in a negative way either.
Okay.
So let me
All right.
reframe and
All right.
say that, you know, people that question as far as how the money is used from the city, from the, you know, the people that y'all represent, properly being used for the city. And so I understand that fully. But, you know, from my vantage point and being around the block here in education and in business for quite some time, you know, I know that that's, it's very important. And I'm getting the Hidalgo County Economic Development Corporation. They're also, you know, providing some support, not financial. They have different types of, I don't know what the, you know, the issues of funding are there, but I'm going to the 22 different cities that we service in this area because, you know, they're directly being impacted by the college at this point. And then I'll eventually go to UTRGV and probably get, you know, have some success in getting in there, and Edinburgh CISD as well. I'll be presenting to them as well. So.
All
Anyway,
right.
I wanted to at least present that to you and for
Appreciate it.
your consideration, and I appreciate the time and opportunity for
Thank you for
the
being here.
presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Any other questions from Dr. Sanchez?
No, sir.
Any? It's up for discussion and consideration. Do I have any motions?
I move that we
Deny it?
deny it, yes, sir.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion to deny by Dr. Saceda, second by Mr. Posadas. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the time. You'll have a good afternoon.
So it was 5-0?
Yes, sir.
5-0, okay. Item 10, agenda item 10. I'd like to move up item 13. So I know we have the representative from Grindstone here, and I'd like to move him up. So he's been waiting patiently since 12 o'clock, so I know 12 o'clock, you got a lot of things to do during the day. Is that okay, Mr. Vela?
Yes.
That we move him up? Is
Yes,
that
sir.
okay with everybody?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, so let's move agenda item 13, discussion and possible action regarding development agreement with Grindstone. Mr. Rivero.
Hi,
Thank
Board.
you for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. I received a phone call from Nelda on Friday and was asked to be here. I know I briefly spoke about our program, Hive Effect, at the last board meeting. And,
Yes, sir.
I guess from my perspective, I think, the presentation was pretty short, and I haven't had a lot of time to sit down with the new executive director and with the board to talk about the formation of the program, the goals of the program, and then, with approval, if the program were to move forward, what were the new goals and objectives, and how could we create a lot of value with the dollars being spent for this program. I know that, like the gentleman before spoke about, the pitch programs that McAllen and Mission have, and I'm very familiar with a lot of the different entities throughout the valley that are creating programs for entrepreneurs. And so my goal has always been to provide a lot of value for the city of Edinburg and for entrepreneurs here to have opportunities to be successful. And so from my standpoint, I would love to sit down and open discussions and talk about, how can we make a successful program together. But I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about the program, or to further discussions, maybe in a conference room with a whiteboard and different things like that.
Okay, any discussions?
Is Nelda here?
Yeah, she's here. Or she was here.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When is this coming up for renewal?
And that's kind of a little bit of the part that I'm confused on, and I can tell you kind of how everything got started. Originally, the first cohort that we started, and the cohort was basically 10 people coming in and getting a membership sponsored at Grindstone and going through the trainings and the classes and all the different things we do there. Originally, we came up with an idea, had a proposal, got approved, and then we went through the first cohort with the idea of like, how do we continue the momentum and how do we keep on going and how do we develop something even better? And so there was a big gap in between the time the first cohort ended and the second cohort required another proposal, which eventually got approved, and we kind of rushed into the second cohort of Hive Effect. And there's been, different issues with the second cohort that I've learned from that I think, different mistakes that we made, maybe rushing into it. We didn't have as many applicants as we really wanted to. Our pool of talent to choose from was not as big as it was in the first cohort. And so there's different things with the second cohort that we learned about. And as the second cohort comes to an end, I'm not sure, what the plans are for the future, how much money was allocated to the program, and basically going back to the drawing board of what the objectives and goals moving forward would be and how to continue momentum with the program moving forward. And so my goal has always been to be, a part of the entrepreneurial ecosystem and to add a lot of value where we think we could from the Grindstone standpoint and from the city of Edinburg, and to kind of help develop small businesses. And so I'm not sure what, on your side what those numbers look like and what, ideas or maybe misconceptions of what past programs were, those dollar amounts. But I'm open to a discussion to like create this plan and develop it together if that's a possibility.
Mr. Carranza, Ms.
Yeah, I know
Ramirez is here.
When is this up for renewal, or how long is this contract for?
I believe it was signed in September of 2017, and it was a 12-month contract. It was for 6 seminars. We just received the invoice. We're processing for the 5th seminar, and so there's one more seminar after that. And once that last seminar is paid for, then the contract is complete.
When is that seminar, Mr. Rivera?
We schedule those with the cohort members, and so we try to arrange a time where we can get the most people in attendance, and we plan on doing a seminar in this early March.
Okay.
But we usually poll everyone, and we kind of see where everyone's at. The last seminar we had, we were trying to figure out, which classes are the most beneficial, what are the things you feel like you're lacking, what are your goals for 2018, how can we develop something or bring in a certain speaker or presenter to help educate that would have the most benefit for everyone. And so it's been a pretty, you're familiar with the term like agile, it's been like an agile process of trying to figure out how to create the most value for the cohort that we have. And so there was never like a set curriculum that was very cookie cutter they were putting people through. Through the analysis of a bunch of different programs that are out there, I think Ruby Red Ventures is the one that the man mentioned earlier. Those are very cookie cutter where the SBDC comes in, teaches 3 classes, like generic business model plan, Canvas. You go through that, and then you go out on your own for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You develop a business plan, and then you pitch, and then you win or lose money, and then that's it. And so we wanted to develop a very comprehensive plan where people had 6 months of a launch pad to develop their business and to grow and to have a chance to be successful. And so that was the way we had framed the program initially.
President, I have a question. 2 questions. One, in the packet, we have one that's not executed, not fully executed. Is there an executed version of this contract in September? That was one. And 2, since September, so we had a commitment of $37,500 or something for an annual contract, right? More or less, or just for the 12 programs? Or
For
the
6 programs.
6 programs. So since September to now, we've expended close to the 37,000 already since September? You've invoiced us for...
Oh, yes, sir. So the way it was broken up in the contract was every month we were invoicing 1/6 of the total cost. And so as we were going through the program, we were just invoicing monthly a 6.
Okay, so right now we're at halfway because September to now.
I think we're like 4/6 of the way through.
So there's only one payment left, is what I understand. Since September, you've basically have only one pending presentation or
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're processing number 5, so that's a total of $31,250 that we've expensed. So there's one payment left.
How much was that?
$31,250 with this last one.
And then with this final payment, it'll go up to 37.
37.5.
And then the contract is for 12 months, which they'll be up in this September coming up.
Right. Well, they had a 12-month...
But the payment is only for 6
seminars.
So the amount is only 37.5.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. It was a little ambiguous, so I
Right.
just wanted to clear it up.
Because
So-
there was...
So
we
what
thought-
happened?
We thought it was $60-some thousand.
Exactly. We
Right.
thought you were going to get paid $6,000 every month for the remaining of the
No, so
of the
the way,
contract.
and from my side, I knew that the 6th month was coming up, and then after that, this is where I wanted to sit down and say, okay, let's look at the past, what worked, what didn't work, and then how do we develop something moving forward, if possible, to learn from the mistakes and capitalize on the momentum that we've accomplished. And so I didn't realize that the contract was a 12-month contract until Nelda told me on Friday. And so I was a little confused on why it was 12 months and it was the 6-month program and those payments.
Yeah, so my question is, what are we going to do from now until September?
And that's what I've kind of been waiting for. I know you didn't have an executive director before. I know that, you guys had your hands full with a lot of things, and so I was hoping to come to, a meeting where we could all discuss this. I could tell you.
So basically, Mr. Rivera, you're saying after this 6-month seminar you've completed, you want to terminate this agreement and then reevaluate the program and see if we bring another contract.
Yes, sir.
Or agreement to the board for consideration.
Yes, sir.
So that's.
So at this point, we're not committed any more than the 37. We got one more to do, and then we would reevaluate.
And then we
if
complete
wanted.
this agreement, right?
Because I fully support the thing that you do, but one of the questions I had even the last time is this a sustainable business model, and are you able to operate on your? From my standpoint, I think it's a great idea, but I don't know if that's the best way for the EDC and its purpose.
Yes, sir.
To
And I
spend
think
that kind of money.
I mean, just speaking very broadly about what's going on across the valley, if you look at the Mission Seed building, I'm using generic numbers that I heard a while back. I'm not sure if these are exact, but they spent $11 million on a building that's 55,000 square feet. They've hired multiple program directors, IT specialists to manage the actual property. I know they have, 55,000 square feet is a ton of overhead, I'm sure. And speaking with Alex Mead over there, they feel very strongly in the direction that they're going, but it's been an uphill battle for them. And so I feel that Grindstone and the Hive Effect program kind of, make us very competitive with what Mission's doing for a fraction of the cost, and almost like a white glove service, all in one, without a lot of risk for the city of Edinburgh or the EDC, comparatively speaking to that project in Mission. I know that UTRGV is also working on a project in Westaco to develop a kind of incubator model as well with a lady over there named Lori Simmons. And I've worked closely with Alex and Lori. We've spoken together about our projects. They're very big fans of what Grindstone is doing in the Hive Effect program. And as of yesterday, we came to terms with, we're signing an MOU with the RGV partnership. And so we have a lot of attention. We've made a lot of different connections with the programs that we have, and with the challenge of building entrepreneurship in the Valley with different partners. So I would really like to have the opportunity to discuss everything that we've done so far, and then see if we can continue the momentum that we've accomplished so far.
So basically, this agreement has been executed. It needs to expire, and then reassess, reevaluate the whole program.
Yes, sir.
With our new executive director, and then he can come back and give us his recommendation, along with any presentation that Mr. Rivera might have to continue the program and make accommodation or modifications to the program.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
The Westaco project he alluded to, I initiated that program over there and worked, got the partnerships together with UTRGV. I did all the extensive research prior to that. I've been to conferences, and so it's something that's near and dear to my heart, but I understand, the pitfalls, and so it would give me an opportunity to work with Mr. Rivera if he'd like me to, but I think entrepreneurial innovation is important for a growing community, and we can lose the brain drain, and we can grow our own entrepreneurs here that can lease our industrials or buy our industrial park property as they make millions in dollars in the future. So.
And just for additional comment, one of the concerns that I had is just, and it may just be the fact that it didn't seem like anybody was kind of following through with the results, or able to tell the board when we were asking questions, how many businesses have started, what has resulted from this, and it may just be a thing of a communication issue, and hopefully with the new director.
Well, and I think those items need to be incorporated into the agreement if for future reference that data needs to be presented every month, and just so we can be kept abreast of what's going on, and feel and know that our money is being utilized and we're getting a return on our investment. Right. So a lot of those things definitely consider later on to be incorporated into the next agreement, if any.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I got a comment. You were saying you were having these seminars every month, and yet on the agreement, I haven't read anything where it says that it has to be every month. It specifically says that there's going to be 6 seminars within 1 year of the date of this agreement for business educational service resources. Why was it rushed every month when it specifically says 6 seminars within 1 year?
I think the first contract for the first cohort that we ever had was a 6-month agreement with a seminar every month. And I don't know if I didn't read carefully where I missed that one had a year contract with a seminar every month for 6 months. And so I was under the assumption that contract was a 6-month contract with a seminar every month. I think another thing is that the one seminar per month is not, we have one official Hive Effect class per month is what we've been doing, but we have seminars at Grindstone on a regular basis. And so Hive Effect members and outside community members, a lot of times are also, they're allowed to come into the classes as well. So one seminar a month for us it's not really, that's not the big, the factor. They also get memberships at Grindstone and their access to the community and conference rooms and everything else. And so that was within the first contract. I think when they spoke to the legal department or however they structured it, they were trying to figure out how to spread across the contract amount throughout the 6 months. And what they used was, as a milestone, I guess, a seminar. So that was the way the contract was structured, but it's not necessarily the way that we operated the program, if that makes sense.
And Nelda, do we have a copy of the original?
This current contract?
Yes.
That's the original copy. The previous director never signed the copy, and so that's how it was processed through.
So this is
That's the fully executed one that we have.
But is this the first one or the second one?
This is the second agreement.
But he's asking for the first agreement.
Oh, the first agreement was a 6-month? Yes, we do have a copy of that.
Did that start in September also?
No, that was a different time. It was for a different amount also.
Okay.
It was for a lesser amount.
Take a look at it.
So what happens to this contract?
You finish it out, unless you terminate it.
Since it's, but by finishing out, because I think he's under the impression that it was only 6 months, right, on that contract that you signed. So that's where the ambiguity is. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
so what
he can say he fulfilled the obligation because the 6 seminars were achieved.
So when's your final seminar? Have you had that one already?
No, we're scheduling that out to early to middle March.
But has it been scheduled already or no?
No, it hasn't.
Do you have any attendees ready to go? Do you have someone in mind?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. So we still have one.
Right.
Okay.
But once he achieves that 6 seminars, then he's fulfilled his obligation. We fill out our obligation by paying him the $37,500. So technically, the contract has been executed. That's why I asked him earlier, is after the 6 trainings and you receive the $37,500, we terminate this agreement and then reevaluate it for any future consideration.
Okay.
I mean,
that makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense.
So that was what I was thinking. But also, we also have the opportunity to terminate it now. I think if there's a clause here for termination, but I mean it's up to the board.
Okay.
I was going to ask another question. As far as the first seminar, do you, Penny, have any recollection on the amount of participants from number 1 through number 5?
For these seminars?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think this is one of the mistakes that I know that we've made. One was we rushed into the second cohort. We were kind of in limbo for a while on getting going, and so we only had I was given a very short time to advertise and market an application process. Once we got the application process, we brought people in for interviews. Once we brought people in for interviews, we selected 15 people. And so the amount of people that interviewed was close to 20, and we had to pick 15 out of 20, so the pool wasn't great. And so a lot of different businesses in the second cohort were very different than our first cohort. One example is we have an RGV aerial photography, which does a lot of drone work. And so since the hurricanes and the rains, they're all the way up, in Falfurrias and Corpus. And so, getting 15 people to agree on a time for the class, if you say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, half pick one, half pick the other. Mornings, afternoons, the other half split. And so depending on the time of the class, there's a different amount of people coming in. In the first class, all 15 people showed up, and then slowly as people got busier and their work or their clients took them in different directions, we kind of had drop-offs in the amount of people. One person in this 15-person cohort took a job as a computer science engineer with IMB, so now we're down to 14. So it's always a juggling act trying to pick a day and a time.
So how many
for
people
this cohort.
participated? Like on the first one, you said you had 15. On
Yes,
the
sir.
second one, the third one, did they show up through all of them, or did they skip? Did they?
Some people don't make it to the class, and I'll either try to catch them up or reach out to them again. And it's almost like each individual is a different scenario, and I would love to show you the list of people and talk about
Okay.
individually what each person does. And I can
Okay.
wait around until afterwards if you'd like.
Okay. I just wanted to get a concept, get an idea of
Yes, sir.
what this money that we're allocating, how many people are being affected by it, how many people are actually using it.
Yes, sir.
So we can get an idea, because we have a big task in front of us to make sure that the amount of money, this ain't our money, this is taxpayers' money,
Yes, sir.
that it be used in a way that it could equip to benefit and help the individual to make them self-sufficient, but then also hope that they invest in Edinburgh so they can go ahead and get what they learned and invest back into our city. And so that's why I was just asking about the participation and also the,
I think another thing to add is really that some classes, like, our first class, we keep it very, compact to just the people in the cohort. But in December, we had a class with a CPA who taught, 2017 is coming to an end. What are the things you can do for your business? And that class was open to more than just the Hive Effect cohort.
Okay.
So we're affecting other businesses around. And so if you own a bakery down the street, you can come into the class sometimes.
that's good. Okay.
Okay, any other? None?
No, I don't. I want to see what, since you support this. What do you call this? This partnership between the RGB
It was
and
the
the
Center of
city?
Innovation Commercialization. It's hard to say, but that was the one in Weslaco. A SEED is in Mission. I don't know what SEED stands for, but it's similar, but they didn't have the partnership with UTRGV.
I think we really need to have something like that here for sure, but I think it needs to be upgraded big time. I think there's a lot of missing components, lack of communication from the person spearheading it with the EDC. You didn't even know what the contract entailed until a week ago. That's a concern. That's a big concern. I would like to make a motion to stop now, reconvene, and see what we can do to make this go, but at a way better scale, and talk to the guy that spearheaded the one from Weslaco, and I'm sure you guys can come up with something.
Sure.
So your motion is what again?
To stop right now, okay, reconvene with Mr. Trevino and Mr. Rivera and see what we can do to really make it work before you get that final presentation.
Okay.
In other words, don't let him move forward with that final presentation until he gets with Mr. Trevino.
Okay, but once,
I believe our council has a comment on that.
okay, but just so I can understand. Once you terminate this, or if you terminate this, then he's not obligated to do that last presentation.
Okay. Not
So-
obligated, but I'm sure he would want to.
Right, but in other words, well, yeah, I mean, that's his, that would be his decision, but in other words, okay, let me rephrase. The EDC is not obligated to pay him that last installment payment or
Right,
seminar.
because it hasn't been done.
Right.
Yeah, understand that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That would be to our benefit to make sure we pay something that's done good within time, because he hasn't even scheduled it. So I think we're in good timing right now.
Okay. According to the agreement, we have a 60-day written notice. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't. No.
Right.
Do we,
No,
Mr. Attorney?
No, I'm looking at the, at that section 4 that provides for the provisions or the certain enumerated actions or inactions that would cause termination, and then you've got to give him 60 days to cure it. I think maybe the better thing to do is just a suggestion to the executive director to meet with Mr. Rivera to plan an event to be completed within the time frame specified in the contract, so that we're not in breach and he's not in breach, and we can just maybe do that last one kind of a collaborative type, or a cooperative type event, if that works for both parties.
I think that's better worded.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to make a motion to don't do anything on the final one, meet with Mr. Trevino so we can plan something, and then once that's done, we'll come back over here and see what we want to do to move forward or not move forward with additional.
I don't think you need a motion. I just think you just need to, let me just hand, Mr. Rivera, would you be willing to meet with the executive director to plan that last presentation that you're going to do
Yes, sir.
before moving forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I think at that point, the executive director can meet with the board or kind of advise them and maybe give you a little bit, if they want to go a different direction, or help you, I guess, achieve the goals that the EDC board would like to see on that final presentation. Does that work?
Yes, sir.
Is that okay?
Right.
That's
So
good.
basically, we're going to
No answer.
fulfill the obligation of the contract, the executed contract, with the collaboration between Mr. Rivera and our new executive director, Mr. Trevino, in order for this agreement, this current agreement, to be fulfilled.
Correct.
Okay? So we don't need a motion, we'll just
Let
put
it
it,
be.
right, let it be and let it work that way.
And you're just offering direction to the executive director.
Right, we've already, yeah, we gave him direction, or the attorney gave him direction. Okay? All right. Mr. Rivera, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, there's also, I was made aware that item number 12, we have a representative from Fiesta Nissan in the audience, so I'd like to bring him up as well. Is that okay with the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so item number 12 would be discuss the amended development agreement with Fiesta Nissan, Inc.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Basically, I was here just to see how y'all were going to vote. I do the public relations for the Bird Ogden Auto Group, and I know the backers are very grateful y'all considering the amendment, the agreement y'all had with Fiesta Nissan.
Okay. All right, so we have an agreement here that we've reviewed regarding the 200 permanent full-time jobs created within a year. Also, the certificate of occupancy of a 45,000 square foot facility. Those were the parameters that were stipulated in the contract in order for the EDC to pay $500,000 to the, I guess it would be Fiesta Nissan, Inc. And we're here to discuss if those obligations were met. And if not, consider amending the agreement so the obligation could be met. So,
Where are we at?
well, where we're at is, I believe the 45,000 square foot facility has been completed, and according to our agenda, the certificate of occupancy was dated February 13, 2018, which I find that hard to believe that it was barely issued when you had been using the facility for quite some time.
We will be celebrating our one-year anniversary March 2nd.
What was the delay on the
Right.
certificate of occupancy?
I really
Oh,
don't know. I
Was it
bumped into
inspect-
the city manager at breakfast, and I just said, hey, when are they issuing out our certificate of occupancy? And that afternoon, I had it at 4:30. He didn't really give me an answer.
Did
Okay.
you have a final walkthrough with the city staff? the
They sent somebody
inspectors
that
and
day.
stuff like that?
Right after that breakfast, they
And
sent
you,
somebody
and
that
what
day.
day, what day did you open? Sorry.
What was that?
What day did you originally open?
We had our grand opening March 2nd of last year.
Okay, so it's already pretty much been a year from the actual date of move-in, and the 45, like I said, the 45,000 square foot facility was built. The 200 permanent full-time jobs, however, hasn't been met, from what I understand.
We have close to 500 employees in our 9 stores here in Edinburgh. Unfortunately, some of our accounting wasn't able to move to this facility. We still have them at other stores. We didn't have the room. Matter of fact, from 45,000 square feet, it went up to 6. Our building, our Fiesta Nissan is our biggest one of all 19 stores in the valley. It's over 60,000 square feet. And we still don't have room for the 200 employees.
Okay, so,
That's the only thing we would like for y'all to amend, I guess, is a number from 200 to a reasonable amount.
but is 200, okay, this is where I'm confused, and I'd like for you to elaborate on this. Fiesta Nissan Inc.,
Mm-hmm.
that's the company that we have this agreement with.
Yes, sir.
Is that Fiesta Nissan off the expressway, is that what that Fiesta Nissan Inc. building is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can't incorporate any other of your Bert Ogden
No.
Businesses into this agreement. So
Exactly.
how many people do you have stationed at this facility, this 60,000 square foot facility?
I want to say right at about 100. I'm not too sure. I don't have those figures. Matter of fact, I just came just to sit in the crowd, to be honest with you.
Okay, well, they
but
told me you were here as a representative, so that's why I brought you up.
Yeah, no.
They said you were making the decisions, man.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm just here as a spectator, but to my recollection,
So
it's
you better
about
watch what
100.
you say.
Yes.
So, again, I guess,
This is an opportunity.
I don't know whether Robert Lucio
yeah,
had
I think
sent
this is
number.
something that,
Did he send you anything else?
I think this is something that Mr. Trevino needs to review and
Yeah.
bring it back to us and let
Sure.
him iron out all the details and to really find out why the certificate of occupancy was barely issued. Because
And I know-
that plays a big part.
Excuse me, I know that Robert Trevino had sent some numbers to Nelda. I don't know whether she has that or whether she received it or not.
We have some numbers that we look at, and that I have a lot of questions on that too. So I think if the board directs me to look into this and work with your company to see how we can reconcile this. I think that's the best
All right.
way to go.
Okay, so then we'll take no action on the item and
It was
just,
for discussion only, I think.
what's that?
Need a motion to direct me to do that, or not?
Well,
Just no action?
I like to
It's
just, I
general
like to
business.
make a comment on the sense of the certificate of occupancy. I have no idea of why it happened, but that is way beyond the control of, well, the only one that controls that is the city. So even though it was you opened up March of last year, you just got your certificate of occupancy, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it states here on B that within 1 year from the date of the issuance. I'm sure you weren't calling the city, say, take your time. But yeah, I got some questions on how the heck everything happened on that particular instance on it. But, no, I
Well,
apologize.
just so you'll know, as a contractor, you are obligated as the building permit holder to call for a certificate of occupancy and to receive it before the owner pays you your final draw. So, yes, the city barely gave the certificate of occupancy, but if there's not a written request for them to come and do a final inspection, then you can't put it on the city that it's their fault, you know. So let's just leave Mr. Trevino to review it and investigate it before we allege that it was a city issue and not a contractor issue. Because it could be a contractor issue too.
I'm not alleging either one, but I have experienced where I made phone calls, and it does take a little time for them to get out there
Not
on
a
a
year.
personal.
Not a year.
Well, no, not a year, but at the same time, I think we could all do a better job in servicing, and I like to find out what happened
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
If there was a phone call, if there was anything of that nature, yeah, because that would be something. I'm not trying to put blame on anybody, back or forth. I'm just making a statement.
Right. Okay, appreciate that. So, Mr. Rodriguez, just let your higher-ups know that Mr. Trevino will be contacting them and discussing the existing contract and any amendments that might be coming forth to our board for review, for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez,
Thank you.
appreciate it. All right, so no action will be taken on this item.
It was for discussion only, I think, in the
That is
agenda.
correct. That is correct. Okay, moving back up to item 10, discuss and consider approval of a travel policy for the Edinburgh Economic Development Corporation Board Directors and employees. Mr. Trevino, have you had time to review this policy?
Yes, sir. Like I was telling everybody, I'm drinking water out of a fire hose. So. But I believe...
Get used to it.
I think this is applicable for across the, any travel policy, municipalities and EDCs. I think, other suggestions that you may have, we could probably implement that also, but I think it's pretty much standard and we can work with that.
Okay, well, this is, I think, the second reading of the travel policy. I don't know if the board has reviewed it all, if there's been any discussion, or suggestions, amendments that you think we need to implement or ask the ED to review.
I briefly looked at it and I didn't see anything that caught my eye. I would still want to ask him to give it a final review to see what he thinks, something that he would have caught or added that you've seen elsewhere.
Okay.
I would like that.
All right. Any other comments from anybody?
No, sir.
Okay, so then we can just take no action and just direct Mr. Trevino to review it one last time and come back with the final version at our next meeting. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll take no action on item 10. Okay, we have number 11. Item number 11, discuss and consider approval of the Economic Development Corporation's Personnel Compensation Plan for fiscal year 2017-2018. This is an item that was asked to be put on the agenda by our Human Resource Department here in the city. Since there's been some changes made with the personnel here at the EDC. We've cut some positions, and we're reevaluating and reclassifying those positions, and they're included in your packet. Of course, we have the executive director, we have the assistant executive director, and then we also have director of business operations and marketing. That position has been filled, and the executive director position has been filled. The entry pay for the executive director is $120,000. That has been agreed to and executed by the EDC board and Mr. Trevino. So that's going to be the amount for entry pay. I believe Mr. Trevino is going to review and assess the other positions that are there currently and reclassify them. I have suggested that that we reclassify or eliminate the assistant executive director position and reclassify it as a director of business development. And Mr. Trevino will determine the duties of that position, of that reclass or new job title, and also the job duties of the director of business operations and marketing. One of the things that I want to reiterate to the public that the past personnel that was here, there was 4 positions other than the executive director and assistant executive director that totaled about $200,000 plus or minus. I'm not too sure what the exact amount was, but I know it was in close to the 200 range, and we've cut that considerably from that amount. And I want the public to know that we're being stewards of their tax dollars, and it has nothing to do with any kind of other retaliation or political retaliation or removing people. I know there's been rumors out there swirling, and people don't realize that these positions that were terminated were positions that the EDC really didn't need. And to save taxpayer money, we decided to reclassify it, also to combine some of the duties, because there was a lot of duties that were being overlapped on those 4 positions, and it just didn't make any sense to be paying 2 people doing the same job. So after reclassification and evaluating the positions, it just made sense that we reduced the number of employees from 6 to 3, and so that's half, which is going to save the EDC a considerable amount of money. The entry pay for the suggestion that I'm making for the director of operations or development, business development, we're looking between $80,000 and $90,000 for entry. That's the number. And then, of course, we also have the director of business operations marketing, which would be at $89,160. So I think it's going to reduce our payroll by more than half.
I have a comment, Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd rather see if Mr. Trevino, as the executive director, could provide us with an organizational chart with a review of the positions that are being proposed, their duties, and see if that is something. I know you just mentioned that you reviewed it. I personally have not. I don't know what structure is being proposed, who's going to be doing what. So
No, I didn't review it. I'm suggesting it.
okay,
It's a suggestion that I'm making.
based on reviewing what's
No, based off of the information that's been provided to all of us during the last 3 months or 2.5 months, going over the pay scale that was provided to us with each employee, previous employee or previous job title that they were making, and what the ED has now agreed to in terms of his contract, and also the transfer of Ms. Garza from city secretary to our business operations director. So that's how I came up with my suggestion. Again, it's a suggestion. It's something that needs to be evaluated by our executive director. I'm just giving you my suggestion, my 2 cents worth.
So my suggestion is that we wait until he either has an opportunity to present to the whole board what he evaluated under those suggestions and see
Right.
if we can get input before approving the compensation plan.
Yeah,
I'd like to see.
so you have no one has any suggestions as to where we're going?
Again, I'd like to see if the executive director could provide that information to us, organizational chart, duties, what everybody's going to be doing. I know
Okay.
you mentioned right now, excuse me, we're going from 6 to 3. Is that, the executive director's position, or is he suggesting that we do something different? Are we going to
Okay.
stay, if we're not going to stay at City Hall in the long term, we're going to be another building, should we be prepared for that if we're going to end up at the Transit Authority like we've discussed also, transit facility?
Yeah,
So
no.
those are the kind of the
Yeah.
details I'd like to maybe discuss further with the executive director, providing that to the rest of the board.
Okay. Yeah, just to let you know about the move, the EDC will stay here at the city hall. I know there's been rumors out there about moving it over there, but I think the whole purpose of moving it from where we were at to here was to consolidate everything, also to reduce costs, operating costs. I don't think it would have been, the move to City Hall would have been made if the move to the transit was going to still be part of the negotiation, because it doesn't make sense to spend all that money to relocate and then relocate again to the transit. So where that got disseminated to the public and put out there, I don't know, but I think it was made very clear that the EDC was going to be here, stationed here at City Hall for a one-stop shop type of thing. So, but again, that's I just wanted to make that clear, so there won't be any misinterpretation about anything. Now, regarding the classification, I just think that we need to give him direction. I know you want him to evaluate the whole process and see if he needs more than 3. Maybe he'll need 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, you know as well as I do, Mr. Posadas, that you give somebody latitude to make their recommendation, they're going to give you their wish list, and they're going to give you what they think that they need. It's up to us to give them some parameters and tell him, hey, this is where you need to focus, and let him work within those parameters. If you just allow him to come and bring, then we're going to be going back and forth with this for a long time.
No, I think if he provides us with something, I don't know that he's going to, are you going to ask for something outlandish, Mr. Trevino?
Well, I would evaluate it, but the budget is clearly what I would go by. I know we'll probably have to bring a budget amendment before this board on specific salaries and positions. So give me the parameters of the budget, how we can work with it, and I can input people we may need at a part-time basis, or assistant level or administration level. But I need a clear budget to work with.
Yeah.
And the budget right now is what? For payroll?
Do you have that?
There is a budget.
What's that?
There is a budget.
Right.
It's just we had said previously that we were going to have him provide us recommendations based on the positions. After he got in, he'd evaluate the positions, the pay, the different duties, and then we would look at that.
Right.
I just don't think I haven't seen it.
Right. And neither have I. But we've seen the budget, and the payroll budget, remember, included those four individuals that we had, which was about $200,000, plus our assistant executive director and the executive director. So that was about $500,000, a little more than $500,000 that was budgeted. So if you're going to give him the budget as his operating parameters, then he has a big budget. You understand what I'm saying? So either we reduce that budget and tell him this is this is how much you have for your budget and you work within that, or we give him the latitude to work with the existing budget that we have?
I'm not saying we give them the latitude. All I'm saying is give them the opportunity to present to the board, whether it be in this setting or executive session, personnel matters, discuss the different duties of the personnel, and have him give us recommendations, and then we can go from there. That's
Okay, my recommendation, you heard my recommendation, so take that into consideration. And if there's any other recommendations or suggestions from any of the board members, consider that as well. I just want to make sure that we have a fully functional operating EDC and that we operate within our means. I don't want to, hire people just to hire people. They have to be able to pull their own weight and be able to provide a service to our city. Okay?
Yeah, Mr. President, at the same time, I would like to, when I bring those recommendations, just bring the budget amendment also, so that is taken care of at the, subsequent, after or before the vote is approved. So,
Right.
And that's not an issue.
And I just want to clarify that that the previous ED was making 160, and Mr. Trevino is under contract for 120. So that's a $40,000 savings there. And so the public and everyone else needs to understand that we're doing our best to reduce those costs and giving our executive director what he needs in order to provide the resources for our citizens, and but within reason. I'm not going to give him more than what he definitely needs. So, just FYI. I'm a very conservative type of guy. Very conservative.
And I might add, for public consumption, it was also a different contract, different terms in the contract, which I think are fair for both parties, for everybody.
That is correct.
Very true.
Okay? So the direction is to give Mr. Trevino direction to assess the compensation plan and come up with a organizational chart of the new job titles for the Economic Development Corporation. Duties. And provide duties for each one of those job titles.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, what Mr. Posada said, and that'll show us the leadership Mr. Trevino has and how much he wants to help us reduce the budget.
Okay? So, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Posadas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Sauceda. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we have, can I have a motion to enter executive session, please? Oh, you know what? Let's go to item number 16. Discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into an interlocal agreement with the city of Edinburgh for joint use and development of Memorial Eisenhower Sports Complex.
I'd like to go ahead and take the opportunity to not participate with this under the basis that I sit on the school board here in Edinburgh, and I'm not going to be part of the discussion or the vote.
I'd also like to add to that, I'd like to abstain as well from any discussion based on the fact that I'm the project engineer and manager.
And I would like to say that I will vote on this.
Okay, so we have 2 board members that will abstain from discussion and voting, and 3 that will discuss and vote. So basically, this item was to add additional funding to the Eisenhower Memorial Sports Complex. I know that the school district did some value engineering. They removed some items from the original drawings. And we felt as a city council that in order to have a fully functional park in this area, that we needed to incorporate the entire original design, which included some restrooms, 2 basketball courts that were eliminated, part of the walking trail, and 2 parking lot sections with lights. And so the city wanted to help the school district, and more importantly, help our students and our youth to have places to practice and play games. As everyone here is aware, we are very behind on parks and recreational facilities in our city, and it's important that we give back to our youth. And so the council has already approved the budget amendment with the school district, and now the city council is asking the EDC to pay the difference. So
How much is that?
it comes out to $434,000, not cents, dollars.
Very affordable.
Yeah,
Very
very affordable. It's a good cause. We take it from, we have money that we've actually saved when we first got here. Remember, we chopped about $600,000 off in one night.
Yeah.
So we can definitely absorb this amount. And again, it's going back to our constituents, going back to the youth. It's something that they deserve. It's not being spent frivolously. It's being spent wisely. So, do I have a motion?
I want a motion to approve.
So I have a motion by Mr. Carranza. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Dr. Salceda to fund the $434,175.81. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item approved 3-0 with 2 abstentions. Excuse me. Okay, do I have a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Posadas. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Carranza. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Vela.
In accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Vernon's Texas Civil Statutes, Annotated Government Code, exceptions to requirements that meetings be open, the Board of Directors will announce it will adjourn into executive session to discuss items 18A through H. No action will be taken in executive session. The Board will reconvene to take any action on any of those matters or any other matters.
I have a motion by Mr. Posadas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Farias. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. For the record, no action was taken in the items discussed in executive session. Item number 14, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into a development agreement with First Hartford Realty.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. As far as entering into a discussion, is that what we're talking about here? We're not talking about any kind of funding? Is this just a discussion consideration? Because the way I read it is just discussion and consideration on having a new executive director.
Right,
Go
into
into
the
discussion.
development agreement with First Hartford.
Oh, into the development agreement?
Right.
Okay, I apologize. As far as that, I make a motion that we go ahead and do a denial on the development agreement with First Hartford.
Okay, do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion by Mr. Farias, second by Mr. Posadas. Any discussion? Nope. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Item number 15, discuss and consider possible action regarding the lease agreement and option to purchase with Newco Tool. There's going to be no action on this item. Our executive director will review and assess this agenda item with NUCO tool, and come back with a recommendation at a future date. Is that all right with everybody?
Yes, sir.
All right, item 17, discuss and consider authorizing the executive director to enter into a development agreement with Ed Payne Motors, Inc.
Motion to deny.
Have a motion to deny by Mr. Posadas. Do I have a second?
I second.
Have a second by Mr. Farias. Any discussion? All's in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All's opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's see, 18D, deliberate authorizing the executive director to enter into a development agreement with GRH Investments. This item,
Mr. President, we need a motion for the board to direct the executive director to proceed as directed on items 18D, E, F, and G, all four of those items.
okay, so we have D, E, F, and G as a motion. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Posadas,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Carranza. Any discussion?
No, sir.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I have a motion by Mr. Carranza,
Second.
second by Mr. Posadas. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned at 3:39 p.m. Thank you.